Whoa.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 12th, 2021. This is episode 336. And today is Real Deal. Razzle Dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Hope everyone had a nice last couple days here. I actually had a crazy dream last night, Basil, speaking of dreams from the last episode.
Okay, tell me about it.
We were trying to stream an episode, just as we are now, and we were trying to fix a link on the document, like you and I at the same time, and it got really frustrating for some reason. And I got really frustrated, and we had to cut the stream because I was yelling and screaming in anger. And
you know, this doesn't seem like that much of a stretch.
Well, the other part of it was we were trying to thank people, and I don't understand. I mean, you know how in dreams it kind of makes sense in the dream, but then you wake up and you're kind of like, I don't really. It doesn't make sense. We were trying to thank people, but for some reason it was very difficult to thank people. And the episode was just a disaster. It was just a complete mess. And we had to stop and start over. And
wow.
It was very bizarre, but,
sounds like your stressful dream there,
it's
Gonz.
very stressful. It's just,
oh my God.
Yeah, which is, maybe I'm not getting enough sleep.
Yeah, or too much coffee, or not enough coffee.
Not enough coffee at night?
Maybe you need a vacation.
Yeah, let me take a vacation so I can work on the documentary that I'm supposed to finish.
Yeah, this is a good idea. Well, Gonz, not much to report over here, except for, where are all the bananas? Have you had an issue with purchasing bananas recently?
I have not experienced it.
Yeah, the first couple, the last couple times I've gone to the grocery store. Now, here's the thing. People might think of me as a fun-loving, wacky, crazy, spontaneous guy, and sometimes that's the case, but I also have parts of my life that are very highly regimented, and part of this very highly regimented thing is I gotta have my shredded wheats and banana for breakfast. It's very important. But recently, past couple times I've gone to the grocery store, banana, you know how they just have a big pile of bananas, usually, like an end cap on one of the what's it called? Produce bins. And it's just a big giant pile of bananas. And you got, you know, the old lady kind of sitting there humming and hawing, touching all the bananas. You got the teen who's who knows, maybe he's buying bananas to prank people, having podcasters slip on them and whatnot. But the past two times, 0 bananas. Well, not 0, but like, where once there was 300 bananas stacked up, there's literally like 2 bananas sitting there lonely. I went to the grocery store, buy bananas, 2 bananas. I got the last 2 bananas in the place. And I was like, wow, the East Coast is having a gas shortage, and we're having a banana shortage on the East Coast. And I looked into it. And we missed it, Gonz, because on January 31st, it was with the public was notified with this headline here. This comes from eatthis.com. Why grocery stores may be facing a banana shortage.
Yeah.
I'm going to save you the pain of reading the article, but basically there's some sort of fungus. Now, here's some facts about bananas you may not have known. You know, there's basically one type of banana that people eat all over the world. 99% of bananas are one type of banana. They're called Cavendish bananas. There's like a lot of vegetables. There's hundreds of varieties of bananas, but the banana culture of the world, just like these Cavendish bananas, and they're a monocrop. They're a monoculture crop, which means there's only one type of them that's grown throughout the world for commercial sales, basically. And because of that, it's incredibly dangerous. They're incredibly susceptible to certain fungus and bacteria and diseases because of the lack of genetic diversity. And there's a bunch of this fungus going around, killing all the bananas. So while, much like a good magician, they were distracting us with a global pandemic while all the bananas died in the world. So I don't know if anybody else is having this problem, but it's really thrown a wrench in my morning routine.
Well, at least you're not like me and you sit there with a little thing of bananas and you say to yourself or to the family, hey, we'll just wait till they turn a little more yellow, before we dive into them. A week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, it's still green. And you're like, wait a minute. Those are plantains.
See, that's funny. You bought plantains instead of bananas. Yeah. See, I love the green bananas. I don't like it. When they start getting yellow and they get that pungent banana-y flavor, I don't like I don't like it. I don't like yellow bananas. I like the green bananas. I like them tart. I like them firm. And I like them green.
Okay.
And that's just how I feel. And everybody needs to know that.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you got to start us off here?
Is that the only thing you have there? What's this note about the woke stroke here?
I told you that that's nothing.
It's nothing.
I highlighted it and spoke with my words to you. Ignore this.
Well, ignore it in the notes, but okay. All right.
Yeah, no. Sometimes I just make little notes for myself, in our notes. That's why it says Basil notes. Where are all the bananas?
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Oh, going right into the Flippy update. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that the robots are taking over the world, and just how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, this is coming from Israel Hayom. Do you know how to pronounce that?
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure.
No, don't do that. Okay, the headline is Israeli manicure robots startup nails it. A fully automated manicure at the touch of a button. Israeli startup Nimble Beauty, which has developed a robot that delivers home manicures based on 3D imaging, has raised $10 million, the company announced on Monday. Nimble's technology scans the user's hand in a small machine, identifying the unique structure of their fingernails. Once the scan is complete, the company's algorithm set a small robot arm in motion, which paints the user's nails in 4 manicure steps: a base, 2 layers of polish, and a top coat. The machine also diffuses.
Oops, sorry.
Whoa.
I'm just checking the Odyssey feed here, and it looks like it's working.
Oh, that's good news. Yep. The machine also diffuses warm air, drying each layer completely. The idea for the robot manicurist was born in 2016. CEO Omri Moran says, quote, "The idea for a Nimble arose after a very long wait for a date with someone who wound up becoming my wife. Quote, when I asked what was holding her up, she explained it was because of her manicure. Even the delay wasn't long enough for her to do her nails, and she gave up on it. The conversation on the date was all about all the problems and difficulties of manicures, and I realized there was an urgent need for a technological solution," Moran says. This is a great look into the mindset of the creators of these robot arms that are taking all of our jobs. And who knows, maybe flirting with our spouses while they're doing the manicure. But But it says the conversation on the date was all about all the problems and difficulties of manicures. And there's a need for a technological solution. It sounds like the problems and difficulties of this manicure was a human being. Coming into contact with human beings was the problem.
Yeah.
So we needed to replace them with a robot, which, is part of this ever spreading ideology that humans are just inefficient and we need to delete them from all sorts of economic interactions. And that is what is driving the robot revolution. And it goes on, talks about just how he raised $10 million, and who cares about that? Nobody wants to know how to raise $10 million. We just care about the robots painting our nails, maybe, getting us in vulnerable positions in order to destroy all humanity. So there you go. Watch out, manicurists. The robots are coming for your job too.
I feel like this is an anti-Asian move here because the Vietnamese people have monopolized the manicure industry, at least out here in the West Coast. I don't know about the rest of the world.
I'm glad you said it because we were all thinking it. And this is Asian hate, guys.
It is Asian hate. There you go.
Stop Asian hate. Destroy the manicure robots.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll figure out a way to work together at first, and then all the.
Have you ever gotten a manicure before?
I have. I went recently. I think I mentioned it on the show.
Recently?
Kind of recently. I guess it was close to a year ago now. But I went with my wife. She wanted me to go with her. And I was a little nervous about it, but it was kind of nice. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I had a situation with my fingernails and toenails. I got a pedicure too.
Yeah. Whoa, you did the full.
It was a full Monty. My toenails never look so shiny and clean.
Yeah, I have only had one manicure. I think I did the pedicure too. I can't really remember. And I did it for Mother's Day with my mother.
Yeah.
Yes, we had nice.
Men need a woman in their life to take them there. I think it'd be a little different if I'm like, oh man, I really got to go get my mani-pedi.
Yes,
it's really
there's a special
situation.
Special name for those types. It was weird. I didn't really like it.
You didn't like it? You must have gone to. It just feels
weird to have somebody else sort of like tugging and scraping.
Oh,
and
you must have had like a anti-white hog,
maybe
lady.
Yeah, she was a little rough on me.
Taking out the rage of the white man on you.
Yeah. I felt it. I felt generations of oppression being revenged upon my fingernails.
People criticizing us even if we go with the woman.
Yeah, whatever. All right, who's next?
Who's next? We knocking things over here. All right.
Just merely mentioning Israel or questioning.
What?
Sorry, did you not want to talk about your statue?
Oh, right. I forgot about the statue. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
But Rockefeller Center. The Sanford Biggers exhibition is now live with a 15,280 pound sculpture, murals, paintings, and elaborate quilts. It is the largest compilation of art by a single artist ever displayed on their campus. It'll be in view until June 29th. This thing here that I'm going to show on screen, and you can see it if you're watching live. If not, it's you can go to the timeline or whatever and look for it. It's creepy. I mean, it's called Oracle, first off, the name of the piece. And it is a giant statue of Prometheus.
Oh, is that who it is?
I think so, because he's holding the torch in his hand.
Oh,
he's got a robe,
okay.
But instead of like the face of Prometheus, it's a ginormous African-American face, like baby face or something. It is the weirdest statue. I heard people say that this is like a BLM thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just weird. It's like, okay, what's the messaging here that the Rockefellers are all in on the BLM? And it's
Rockefeller Center is famous for having their occult symbols and statues inside and outside the building.
Yeah, and they've had the Prometheus sculpture out front. I think that's kind of that classic look, running, and holding the torch or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a very bizarre art piece, and it
got kind of like an Easter Island vibe to it.
Yes.
Like the ratios of the head.
Yeah. Humongous head. I don't know. It's like a gray alien style head. It's just so ridiculous.
Is it supposed to be an African-American thing?
I think so. I saw some people. I saw people mentioning that it's like a BLM, like the Rockefeller Center's solidarity with the BLM thing. So I think it is. Because they also got rid of the giant BLM on the street. Remember that big sign or street
the
painting?
Mural in the yellow.
Yeah, like the big painting on the street, and people were getting arrested for ruining it basically with the paint bucket and stuff like that. They got rid of that, so they need to virtue signal in other ways. And maybe this
interesting
is just thing.
I only asked because it sort of gave me like a Buddha vibe a little bit.
Yeah, that's true too. Let me just double check it because I did see. Let me just double check. I don't know if any articles mentioned it. Yeah, it is okay. Well, it says black sculpture, which may not mean exactly the race of the individual that's being represented here, but
yeah. Oh, you mentioned their other statue. They do have a statue of Atlas. That's the guy with the
holding up the globe.
M. Pneumati is mentioning that it's Atlas and not Prometheus, but I believe they do have the Prometheus statue too.
They do.
And there's like a fountain.
Yeah, let me find the Prometheus one at the Rockefeller. I'll show it. Yeah, it's like a giant gold one.
And he's kind of flying.
Yes, here's
holding a torch.
For those of you watching, this is the Prometheus here. It's gold. He's got like a ring around him. He's on a mountain, and he's got the flame in his hand. So there you go. They're known, again, like you said, for their occult.
Yeah, they got a bunch of stuff on the inside too. I've actually been inside Rockefeller Center before.
Shill.
As I was my one time visiting New York. I've only been there once. And yes, I'm a shill. It's a very touristy spot. You can kind of.
Is that when they branded you with the all-seeing eye on your? I don't know.
Oh, you noticed that on my? I don't know.
Your forehead. Is that why you wear your googly eyes to hide that mark?
To hide my. I don't have my mascara on my third eye. What was I going to say? Okay, before we move on, we do need to talk about Israel. That continues to escalate over there. I did want to just very quickly mention, if you are considering becoming a producer of the show, today would be a great day to do it. Let's just say you'll have a lot of personalized attention during the producer segment. We expected quite a dip in producership after episode 333. It just sort of always happens after a bigger episode. But if you're out there and you're thinking, man, I've been kind of hemming and hawing about producing the show, today's the day, baby. Go do it. Head over to patreon.com/CCNT, which I don't know. Somebody needs to tell us if we said something to inspire an exodus from producing the show. Let us know, because I'm not really sure what it is, but we're a little bit in the red over there on the Patreon.
Well, we know people are having issues and reprioritizing their finances as well.
Yes, that's right. We do recognize times are getting weirder and weirder. That's so no shame for those who needed to reprioritize their finances. But for those out there who are doing okay, there's no emergencies, and you're thinking about becoming a producer, today would be a great day. Head over to patreon.com/CCNT or canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
Okay.
Now,
Israel deal.
Are we getting back to the Israel deal?
Mm-hmm.
Just merely mentioning Israel or questioning in any way Israel's policies is not the same thing as being pro-Hamas.
Zionist pig!
This is NBCnews.com. 33 killed in Israeli airstrikes. Hamas rocket attacks as unrest spreads beyond Jerusalem. Interesting number killed there.
Yeah.
And of course, the article starts, at least 30 Palestinians, including 10 children and 3 Israelis, were killed as tensions in Jerusalem spread west toward the seacoast Tuesday. Israeli airstrikes flattened a multi-story apartment building in Gaza, and rockets fired from the Gaza Strip reached Tel Aviv in an unusually far-fetched or far-reaching barrage that sent residents of Israel's largest city scrambling into bomb shelters.
Oof.
Yeah, the clashes.
Yeah, there was that live footage recently. Did you see all that live footage on Twitter of the Iron Dome going off?
Yeah, I have one here. This is a 24-second clip of very loud. I'm gonna turn down that sound, but yeah, it's just, you see all the trails and explosions in the sky there. It's Iron Dome doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it is crazy to think that this is a semi-regular occurrence for people living over in Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, it's cool to watch, but also it just reminds me that there is entirely different ways of existing in this world. And when the air raid sirens go off and you see, hundreds of flares or missiles or whatever flying through the sky to defend you from missiles, rockets coming your way. That is an experience that, as of yet, we have not had in the United States. Not to say it could never happen, but yeah, very, very, it reminds me to say a little prayer for everybody over there in that part of the world.
Yeah.
But also kind of fun to watch. I saw a nighttime one.
Yeah, the nighttime ones are gnarly.
Yeah, and you can actually see like the impacts between the rockets and I don't know what they are. Are they flares or are they other rockets?
I think
rocket-seeking rockets?
I think it's supposed to be rockets taking out other rockets.
Yeah.
That's like the idea anyway.
But you see the explosions and you just like every one of those little explosions you see, you're like, wow, that is a rocket that could have hit someone's house that just got taken out.
Yeah.
In the sky.
Part of this is, it's really interesting how the focus has shifted on Israel, because again, like you said, this has been a fairly common occurrence over there. Mm-hmm. Was there a hiatus in a lot of this stuff during the last year because of the whole pandemic?
There was a hiatus in a lot of this stuff because of Trump.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
I mean, Trump kind of had everything. I'm not going to say there was no unrest, but Trump did a good job of, say what you will about Trump, but the regular occurrences of these sort of mass conflict issues in the Middle East, specifically Israel and Palestine, was at sort of an all-time low during Trump.
Sure.
And just recently picked up.
That's kind of what it feels like, is like, oh, business as usual. We haven't seen this kind of tension in a while, but here we go again. That's kind of the feeling that I was getting when I was seeing, even last week when things started up again. Let me continue with the article here. Mm-hmm. It says the clashes prompted international calls for calm and raised fears that the situation could ignite into a wider conflict, as Israelis and Palestinians promised that their respective campaigns were far from over. Quote, "We're in the midst of a big operation," Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a statement today. Quote, "We decided that Hamas and Islamic Jihad will pay a heavy price for their aggressive acts. Their blood is in their heads. This operation will take time. Their blood is in their heads." Maybe
that's sort of some sort of colloquialism to say like, oh, they're mad or something.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Or a mistranslation. Who knows?
Benny Gantz, defense minister and opposition leader, sounded a similar note. Quote, "We will restore quiet and security, and we will do so for the long term." Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh called, I'm probably saying that wrong, Shtayyeh called on the United Nations Security Council to intervene to stop, quote, the Israeli aggression against our people. Zayed al-Nakhala, Secretary General of the Islamic Jihad movement, said his group, quote, "We'll continue this battle and we promise our people that we will not retreat and will continue to resist, God willing." United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a statement that he was, quote, gravely concerned about the escalation of violence in Gaza, which he said adds, quote, to the heightened tensions and violence in occupied East Jerusalem. You know, I could do that. It feels like I could do this job of the UN Secretary General. You just just get up there and state the obvious, you know?
Yeah, careful what you wish for.
No, I'm not going to. No. No way. Even if they recruited me, I'd be no, thank you. Quote, he's deeply saddened to learn of increasingly large numbers of casualties, including children from Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, and of Israeli fatalities from rockets launched from Gaza. The Secretary General's thoughts are with the families of the victims. The 13-story resident building in Gaza, containing 80 apartments, was struck Tuesday evening. Reuters reported that it was hit by an Israeli airstrike, and the Israeli military confirmed Tuesday that it struck a multi-story building in Gaza's Rimal neighborhood that it said was being used by Hamas. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Did you see this video too? I don't think I have it pulled up here, but yeah, I mean, you see it just, a big explosion and then the building go down. So
yikes.
Shortly,
took it out completely.
Oh yeah. Huh? Yeah. It's Shortly after 130 rockets were fired toward Tel Aviv, on Israel's Mediterranean coast and its suburbs, Hamas said in a statement, Israel briefly halted all flights to Ben Gurion Airport. The Israeli military called up 5,000 reservists for active duty. In Ashkelon, an Israeli city less than 10 miles from Gaza, 2 people were killed in rocket attacks Tuesday, Israel's Zaka emergency response team said. And here's another photo of just the damage. I mean, this bus completely torn to shreds. You got a car that's all, burnt out.
Yeah.
Hamas, a militant group that controls the Strip and is considered a terrorist organization by Israel and the United States, has launched 480 rockets into Israel from the Gaza Strip, including targeting Jerusalem, according to the Israeli Defense Forces. In response to the rockets, the IDF bombed 130 targets in Gaza, including a Hamas commander's home. It released photos of fighter jets laden with missiles. Israel's emergency agency, Magen David Adom, said a bus was hit in Holon, a city south of Tel Aviv, injuring 7 people, including a 5-year-old. One woman has been confirmed dead after a rocket attack in Rishon LeZion, a suburb south of Tel Aviv, according to a volunteer emergency response team. Several injured were also reported in the metropolitan area of Tel Aviv and in Givatayim, east of the city. The Israeli embassy in Washington tweeted a video that appears to show rockets over Tel Aviv. I think this is the one you're talking about, like the nighttime one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me play it. Let's turn down the audio. We don't need to necessarily hear it, but yeah, I mean, it looks gnarly. There's all the stuff flying up and explosions.
Yeah.
I mean, we can keep going with this. It's just people talking about all the people killed and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think we understand unless there's something particularly notable in there. But the thing that strikes me is this is so near the time that the big military exercises were announced.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like something everybody was kind of prepared for or expecting. We reported last episode or the show before that about Israel basically activating every single military member and running humongous war games across basically all of their borders. And this is like a day later, these rocket attacks started coming. So, it's a big, expensive thing to be running these military exercises. And, I'd mentioned during the show, feels like they know something that we don't know about because that's big and expensive and takes everybody's time. And especially in Israel, where people are simultaneously living civilian lives while also being in the military. It's just sort of a different system than we have here in the U.S. And so, activating all military members, that's like a significant portion of their country, their civilian population. And so it seems like they saw this coming, and things are escalating, which is really unfortunate to see happen. But like I said, that's kind of just what been happening over there for so long. We got the 4-year respite with Trump, but that seems to have worn out its welcome.
And let me just kind of comment on the response in the U.S., especially coming from fellow brethren. There's a tendency in evangelicalism to be like all out support of Israel, which, I get it. There's been a lot of, it's hard to say because I don't want to like necessarily offend anybody who believes that Israel can do no wrong because of certain passages and stuff. But there's been, a lot of the evangelicalism in the West here. We've been bombarded with a type of propaganda that is pro-Israel. And I'm not like, me personally, I'm not pro or anti-Israel in the sense that like the people that live there, again, are just trying to live lives. Like they're not, they might have some views or beliefs that are different, but in terms of just like the violence, or I guess justifying violence, that's where I kind of draw the line. And because a lot of times you'll talk to people that come out of a super pro-Israel Bible prophecy view of things, and they'll say, well, they would be they have the right to defend themselves. They're surrounded by enemies. And it's like, I agree with you, but also they should do what they can to like not kill children and stuff, like civilians.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I don't claim to have a full working understanding of the geopolitics going on over there, but I do want to maintain, especially when it comes to sort of a diehard, unstoppable support for actions of the Israeli military, is when it comes to biblical support for the nation of Israel or the tribes of Israel. One of the biggest things we like to remind ourselves about is the difference between the current
nation state,
geopolitical nation state of Israel, created in 1946 or whatever it was.
1948. Yeah.
Okay. And the biblical people of Israel, there's that's kind of one of the big, it's complications and sort of the undying support for the current geopolitical entity of Israel.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why that Israel jingle that we play is kind of interesting, because criticism of Israel is not like pro-Hamas. We're not saying like, Hamas, right. we 100% back Hamas, which in the United States, interestingly enough, if you're a Democrat,
it's becoming more popular.
Yeah, if you're a Democrat, Democrat, liberal, lefty type, then you're kind of anti-Israel. It's kind of strange how that's been playing out, but they but they're very much pro-Palestine. And again, my prayer is that people are just safe, that all men, women, and children remain safe, because they're kind of in the crosshairs of this geopolitical thing, and they don't necessarily have much to do with it, other than maybe deciding to live there. But then I've heard all the arguments with, and these are discussions and debates that are way too deep for us to cover, any kind of extensive thing here. But that if you look at the genetics, there's a cattail.
Yeah.
He's
coming to cause trouble.
If you look at the genetics, the people of Palestine certainly have a more genetic connection to the Semitic people in the ancient Near East of Israel of the time, like the historical biblical times Israel. So, I mean, those are conversations that.
Well, and always... just to be clear, you talk about genetics, and again, oh my gosh, we are not professionals in understanding what's going on over there. I did do a bit of extra reading recently because I was trying to understand what's different right now.
Oh, it's wild. Before. I mean, it is a very difficult topic to get a grasp on. And
Yeah.
different people land on different spots, and they're willing to die on that hill once they come to some kind of understanding.
I know. So that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the point I wanted to make when you bring up genetics, just so nobody thinks you're like some sort of eugenicist or something, or genetic purist, is that what you're referring to, or at least what plays a part in that, is that the Palestinians were the people the Arabs living in the area in 1948. And of course, there was also Jews living there, but many of the Jewish families moved from Europe after the war. So there is this sort of influx of European Jews, and that's part of what a lot of the butting heads is about. Is the Arabs were already there, and then there was this sort of mass migration of European Jews getting out of Europe after the war, being given their own spot, and it's just been basically a brawl ever since.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't really realize that Palestine in its current form is like a bunch of islands within Israel. There's not like one big chunk of that geographical area that you can point to and say, this is Palestine. It's like 163, I want to say, little islands of territory within the borders of Israel that are considered Palestine, which is just so complicated. And it's sort of a...
Sorry, just as a side note, there's a guy in the chat named The Blur, and he's pushing the Caesar's Messiah theory.
What's Caesar's Messiah?
That all of Christianity and Jesus and everything are a Flavian conspiracy, which hasn't been thoroughly debunked, by the way, just to throw that out there. Okay, anyway.
He's just trolling.
Yeah, he's trolling.
Don't get caught up in the trolls, people.
The other thing I wanted to mention before we move on here, because I think it's important to reiterate almost every time we talk about Israel and the tensions there, is the thesis that the Antichrist, man of sin, will potentially, and biblically I would argue, present himself as the long-awaited Jewish Messiah. And in the process, he will defend Israel and conquer the enemies of Israel, the traditional enemies of Israel, which include Egypt and the sort of the conglomerate of Islamic nations that surround
Philistines,
Israel.
Canaanites.
Yes. And it's very fascinating because in Revelation 13, in verse 4, it talks about the people that worship the dragon and gave authority to the beast. And they all said, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? Which means there's going to be this military might with the Antichrist. And the thesis is that he's the man of sin will try to fulfill a lot of the geopolitical and geographical prophecies about the Messiah and the millennial kingdom and the regathering of Israel. And that includes, Isaiah 11 verses 14 through 16 that talks about, the Lord will devote destruction to the Gulf of the Sea of Egypt. He will sweep his hand over the Euphrates. Just that whole region, that Israel or this man of sin will take over. And another one is from Zechariah 14 verses 14 through 18 or 19. Similar type of conquest language. And also Micah chapter 7 verse 12, which basically says that, they're going to, not a rebellion. This is actually talking about the Messiah who's going to conquer Assyria and Egypt. And it makes sense when you think about why the first century Jews, or a lot of them, rejected Jesus as the Messiah, because they were all waiting for this militant conquest. And it didn't happen with Jesus, right? In his first coming, but it will in his second coming. But a lot of the scriptures seem to reveal that it will be to destroy this counterfeit messianic figure. Mm-hmm. So, just something to keep in mind, because there is a lot of deception going on, and, we can get lost in the details of how we got here. But in the greater picture of moving forward, if you're blindly just going to support geopolitical modern Israel, you could fall into that trap of supporting the Antichrist. And I'm not saying people will, but it does say that, even the elect could be deceived. So, just a fair warning to study your Bible and come to your own conclusions, do your own research. But it's something that makes a lot of sense to me, both scripturally and in my studies and everything. So just need to throw that out there. Stay
vigilant, citizens.
Yes. And one more article regarding this. This is from the Jerusalem Post. 33-year-old man killed in Lod amid violent riots across Israel. That's 2 headlines with 33 in the headline. I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah. Can't report it until it hits the magic number.
Yeah, apparently. And, we've talked about this in the past, but there's a lot of Freemasonic symbolism in Israel and some of their, infrastructure. I'm trying to pull it up here. There's like a pyramid with the square and compass and the G, and there's all kinds of stuff in Israel that represents the occult leanings there. So it's no surprise that they would do that here. But in any case, yep, I don't necessarily want to read this article because I think we know what the point is there with the headline.
Yep, sounds good.
But there you go. Anything else there you want to add to that discussion?
No, I think that's about as much or more than I can comfortably add to that conversation.
Right. Okay, let's get into some pandemic specials.
A pandemic special.
Okie dokie. Let's see here. I'm going to do this IKEA one first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll start out here at Psych News Daily. This is psychology. Psych. This is a psychology outlet here. And the headline is Dutch IKEA store apologizes for asking customers without a mask to wear a yellow sticker instead. Dun, dun, dun. I know. I mean, we all saw it coming. Dutch Twitter erupts at IKEA this weekend as local newspaper Algemeen Dagblad reports they were unable or unwilling. The Dutch Twitter erupted at IKEA this weekend as local newspaper Algemeen Dagblad reports the local IKEA branch in the Dutch city of Delft was asking shoppers to wear a yellow sticker if they were unable or unwilling to wear a protective mask. For example, for medical reasons. People on Twitter and social media sites quickly drew dark comparisons to World War II. No kidding.
Yeah. Who picked the yellow? Is that just...
I know. And what is it for? To tell people you're not wearing a mask? Can't they just see your face?
Logic has left a long time ago.
Not only is it useless, but it is an on the nose reference to the yellow star of World War II.
If they wanted to do this right, they should have had Batman handing out the yellow stickers so that he can inform the citizens.
If you're working alone, wear a mask. The mask's not for you. It's to protect the people you care about.
Yeah. I mean, even worse, like the yellow sticker, like wear this to warn people that you're a filthy anti-masker. It's just like so like on the nose. It's
wearing
painful.
A mask isn't the signal itself. All right. Anyway, go on here.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this tweet here. The tweet translation: IKEA in the Netherlands, where you have to wear a yellow star or sticker on your jacket if you don't want to or can't wear a protective mask. It all started with a tweet in which an IKEA customer wrote that you can tell IKEA when you arrive that you are exempt from having to wear a mask. In that case, the customer was told you need to put a yellow sticker on your jacket so that others can see that you have an exemption. That's a yellow sticker at IKEA. For many people, this whole incident has very distasteful connotations. For example, Twitter user Elishiva, the translation is, IKEA has just reintroduced the yellow star. Anyone who doesn't want to wear a mask must visibly place the yellow sticker on their jacket. This comes in hard to digest, and I cannot describe what I'm feeling right now. Hashtag boycott IKEA. According to another, the problem is not the color, but the fact that IKEA uses the sticker at all. Algemeen Dagblad contacted IKEA for a response, and the store now says they regret the incident. No kidding. We regret that the stickers have evoked negative associations among visitors. It was never our intention, and we therefore also apologize, said the IKEA spokesperson. We are sorry that it was received so unhappily. Whoa, look at that red flag. Well, we're sorry that you felt bad about this. The classic non-apology.
Yeah.
We are sorry that it was received so unhappily. The stickers were completely voluntary, the spokesperson said, and they were only used at this one location in Delft. IKEA immediately stopped using the stickers after the backlash on Twitter. The IKEA branch in Delft had introduced these stickers on May 6th for the sake of, quote, clarity. According to IKEA, the intention was only to make it clear to both employees and customers that a customer has a medical exemption from wearing a protective mask. The fact that the sticker was yellow is entirely due to the fact that it is one of the well-known IKEA colors. I don't know if that's a comparison that IKEA wants.
They could have.
IKEA.
Sorry, I finished the thing there.
IKEA finds it very regrettable that the yellow stickers triggered negative emotions in many people, the spokesperson said. Again, the non-apology. We're sorry that you felt so bad about us branding you like the Jews in World War II.
They could have used a yellow with the blue outline, because the yellow
so
and
many
blue,
options.
Yellow and blue being their colors instead of the yellow just trying to. But also, I'm glad that I'm going to golf clap the Twitterverse for doing something worthy in the protest department.
Yeah, right.
And it's good to know that the news outlets around the world are just reporting tweets. It's a thing. I know it's a thing in America.
Yeah,
apparently
right.
it's all around the world too. If you say something on Twitter, just quote
it's news.
Tweets.
Twitter is news.
Twitter's news. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about that because, so I was catching up. One of the roles that both you and I have gone, I just have a little bit more time to do it, is to sort of keep current with the mainstream conversations going on. It's, we got to have a broad amount of information to be able to accurately have conversations on this show. And I was watching, what is it called? Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And
the British guy that has an American show and tells Americans what to think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
that guy. Okay. I used to like him when he first was on The Rise on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I was like, hey, this guy's funny.
There's so much to go in about that. I don't. He used to be much more enjoyable to watch. Now it's just all the signaling messaging that the CIA wants to get out. And he did a segment on vaccine hesitancy recently, and just doing a basic media analysis of his segment. It was just horrendous. He has a reputation for being sort of like an honest journalist. But he only gives numbers that support his thing, doesn't give any of the numbers that don't support it. And anyways, what am I getting into? It doesn't matter. But I was watching John Oliver. I got so distracted by talking about John Oliver.
You're keeping in touch with the culture and we were talking about
IKEA. We're talking about their fake apologies.
Sorry, that's my fault. I totally budged into your train of thought.
That's okay. It must not have been a very good connection. There was I just wanted to say that I watched John Oliver. Dang it. I made a bunch of notes on his stuff too, but we'll bring it up later. Anyways, I don't know, but I'll bring it back to say IKEA specifically used the word triggered too. We're sorry this triggered you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're all, it's just a very strange response that is pretty tone deaf. Dang, why did I bring up John Oliver? I don't know. We'll see if it comes back.
Okay.
I didn't have my green banana today, so
Yeah, you're
brain
completely
is-
off your game. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was going to do the other story here, but before we do, I'll do this other mask story here from Vice.com. People aren't addicted to wearing masks. They're traumatized. Really?
People aren't addicted to masks?
Yeah, this is what Motherboard Vice.com says.
Okay.
Hey, let's see what their logic is here. Around a month ago, Lauren Albanese went to the mall with her uncle and dad. It was the first time since the pandemic began that the 27-year-old from Staten Island had been around people outside her household. A lot of the people from New York really stayed indoors and didn't see anybody. As they entered, Albanese froze. All the people around her seemed to move in slow motion. Her dad spoke to her, but she couldn't hear his words. My body completely shut down, triggered by simply being around people, she said. Quote, I still feel like I don't have control over myself and how my body reacts after everything that's happened.
Okay.
Albanese tested positive for COVID-19 3 days after her grandmother died on April 8th, 2020. Quote, not a day goes by when I don't think about the events that took place over a year ago, Albanese said. I wonder if the grandma was part of the Cuomo.
Oh, yeah.
Let me move on here. Visual memories flooded her mind. The difficulty of picking up her grandmother's ashes due to crematory backlogs, getting extremely sick herself while trying to grieve, the inability to have a funeral, her grandma's assisted living facility dumped all of her grandmother's possessions, including her grandfather's ashes, into boxes. When she left the hospital the day her grandma died and saw a line of people outside the hospital who weren't permitted to enter. Quote, they just want to be near the building that housed their loved ones, Albanese said. Needless to say, it hasn't been easy for Albanese to adjust, quote, back to normal. And the United States improves its COVID-19 situation with daily case numbers at fraction of what they were during the January peak, largely due to vaccinations. There's been a small but vocal backlash against those who, like Albanese, aren't swiftly shaking off the events or newly acquired safety behaviors of the past year. There have been warnings of the dangers of, quote, extreme COVID caution, and 538's Nate Silver tweeting, quote, I'd argue one sign of irrationality is if a person doesn't change their behavior much after being vaccinated. This viewpoint was best summarized in an article from Emma Green in The Atlantic called, quote, The Liberals Who Can't Quit Lockdown. Quote, lurking among the jubilant Americans venturing back out to bars planning their summer wedding travel is a different group. Liberals who aren't quite ready to go to pandemic, liberals who aren't quite ready to let go of pandemic restrictions, she wrote. Quote, for this subset, diligence against COVID-19 remains an expression of political identity, even when that means overestimating the disease's risks or setting limits far more strict than what public health guidance permits. There's a glaring omission from this discussion about why people can't quit pandemic behaviors, the mental and emotional toll of the last year. After what many have been through, death, grief, isolation, stress, anxiety, unemployment, trauma, people are going to have some feelings around transitioning back to a less cautious way of life. Which, by the way, talk about trauma-based mind control. This is like the death. They're like just laying it out. Trauma, mind control, social engineering behavior.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say the trauma-based mind control is strong, which is
very strong.
But they're basically just coming out and saying it.
Yeah, that's what they're describing, but they're not really aware.
But maybe they don't want to say the phrase. They're getting all the words in there, but
the Vice just really getting wordy about what it is without saying what it is. This doesn't mean that they reject the CDC guidance or are wielding progressivism as a weapon. It means some people need a little extra time to put their masks away and as they stroll around the park, and they should take it, especially since, broadly speaking, on a policy level, states are opening up and have concrete plans to continue doing so in the coming months. If anyone is being overly cautious, it's happening on an individual level, and unlike the individual choice to not get vaccinated, burn, it's an individual behavior that doesn't incur any meaningful risk for others. Just, they always just have to jab the anti-jab.
Yeah, you're a
folk.
bad person if you don't get the vaccine.
You're not just a bad person. You're threatening the lives of others if you don't get vaccinated. An especially cruel element of being told you're not moving on fast enough. You're not moving on fast enough is that all of the usual ways of grieving were put on hold last year or severely truncated. Yada, yada, yada. We get it. I don't think we have to read the whole thing here. I mean, there's just a little bit left, and it goes into other people's anecdotal things of how the trauma, just affected their behavior now. So, yeah, I think the summary here, again, is this trauma-based mind control being very strong, especially out in New York over there. It seems like, but, in New York, too, not to, I don't want to be mean to these folks, but I will give them this, that in New York, with the Cuomo situation, killing several thousand more people unnecessarily, especially the elderly, and the rise in crime in New York was pretty ridiculous too. Like if you're outside and out and about.
Oh yeah, it was out of control, and that's partially because of the Black Lives Matter stuff, right. Social movement, the demonization of all police. And also, Cuomo had some policies directly pulling police away from, certain, they would call it low level crime, which just kind of let it go. I mean, even the homicide rate blew up in the past year. You can summarize all of that as part of the trauma. And trauma really does. And part of what we're talking about here is historically with the MK Ultra programs and the CIA, a lot of it was based on traumatizing their subjects and seeing how they can control their psychology, their behavior, and they learned how to control populations. And clearly, when you look at things like 9/11 and the city of New York, especially people that live there, I mean, the trauma still, reverberates today, and obviously the pandemic on top of it. It's just, if you look at the history, it's pretty obvious to me that this is part of a agenda, and it's all social engineering. And I feel bad because they don't realize it. If you realize part of that as the agenda, you might be able to shake yourself out of it. Like barring obviously some personal things that happen to you, like losing family members, but a lot of people lose family members all the time, especially the elderly. And not always to the pandemics, but anyway. Well, if you take a broader look at the conversation around trauma, especially in the past 4 or 5 years, the conversations about, and it's mixed in with the self-help thing, the meditation thing, the sort of new agey permeation throughout the culture with meditation apps, things like that. But as well as, it's wrapped up in the feminist movement. It's wrapped up in a lot of things, talking about trauma, recognizing trauma, a lot of talk about trauma, which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing. It's good to identify things that might be affecting your behavior or your thought patterns. But there's sort of this obsession with trauma. And one of the kind of funny, but not funny things that have come out of this is basically the realization that, hey, everybody has some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
Even if you go in, you're talking to a therapist or anything, they're like, okay, let's find your trauma. Even if you don't necessarily have something horrible in your childhood, the conclusion is everybody has some sort of trauma that affects them. And if you think you don't, that just means it's repressed and you can never find it. And it's just so deeply hidden.
It shapes our behavior. And, it's interesting having little kids running around, a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old, and being hyper aware of a lot of that stuff. It's interesting because you see how their behavior changes based on certain things that happen. And like the other day,
experiences.
The other day, my little daughter, 4-year-old, she was running and she fell and she scraped her knee. She's never scraped her knee before. So she was like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world.
What's happening?
And the next time, I was like, hey, go run. And she was like, well, I have to be careful. I don't want to. And it was like, interesting.
Yeah.
That's how and part of it too. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, continue.
Part of it too is that this idea of trauma, whether it's engineered or if it's just living life, actually proves a very basic principle that is taught in the Bible, that we are in this like fallen state. And it goes back to Genesis 3 and getting kicked out of the garden and losing our
the original trauma.
The proto trauma of listening to the serpent there. But it really does. It really does, because the idea of sin being like missing the mark and just this idea of always trying to attain this level of this idealistic perfection, which is part of the occult agenda. If you look at alchemists, and they're always like, oh, we want to ascend. We want to achieve that perfection. Chaos. Yeah. They're always trying to reach for something. And that tendency is there because we are in that fallen state. It really does prove the whole biblical narrative and why we need Jesus, period.
And to build on the social obsession with trauma, Shishin in the YouTube reminded me, there's also this sort of clinical term of trauma bonding, which is people who go through trauma together, have some sort of special bond. And we're seeing, and this is, of course, part of the plan, which is the trauma bonding of a global pandemic, where everybody, goes through this thing together. You bond with people who have the same trauma as you, and then that creates some sort of social cohesion. And the thing with the masks is wearing the mask is a signal, or if you want to take it straight from the CDC scientist, a talisman that is signaling to others that, yes, we are in this together. We have the same trauma, and we know we are part of this trauma tribe because we are wearing the mask. If somebody is not wearing the mask, not afraid, not traumatized in the same way, it creates a very specific and deliberate disconnection, social disconnection. And that's part of this divide and conquer thing that we got going on. And the same can be said about the vaccines, where it's less about what am I saying? Not advocacy, the effectiveness of the mask or the vaccine. It's signaling that, yes, we are trauma bonded together. If you wear a mask, we are one. If you don't wear a mask, then we are not bonded. We do not have the same trauma. You just don't understand me. And so we can't be friends or interact together. And then, of course, like Vice skirted around through the trauma bonding comes the trauma-based mind control and the social engineering aspect. And
if you want an example in the last 2 decades of social engineering and trauma-based mind control, think about what happened if you were around and aware during 9/11. I was 18 years old when it happened. 9/11 happens. What did we see all across the country on lawns and everything else? American flags everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. Very similar. Yeah.
Think what happens now if you bring out the American flag. You're a terrorist.
Ooh, it's opposite.
It's 100% opposite.
Crazy right-wing extremist domestic terrorist for flying the American flag.
And that's based on the trauma-based mind control, because at the time, the trauma was, we're under attack. And then in 2 decades, they were able to pull off, hey, if you're an American, you're a white supremacist, and you're holding down the colored man, and all that narrative. It's amazing. It's pretty startling if you think about it, and it's hard to believe that we just lived through it. And of course, the people calling it out are called crazy and conspiracy theorists and whatnot. But in any case, there you go. Vice trying to explain trauma-based mind control without saying it
outright. Yeah. Which does kind of show is sort of an Operation Mockingbird CIA, conversation.
Yeah, they don't want to dox themselves,
Yeah.
And real quick here, we always have this under the pandemic headline because of the cyber pandemic that is scheduled. Dailymail.co.uk. Who else is being held ransom? Hackers launched cyber attacks on more than 24 other companies after they had shut down the Colonial Pipeline. I'll just read the bullet points here.
Okay.
At least 24 unnamed companies were also affected, according to reports. They were helped by other companies and U.S. agencies, Bloomberg said Monday. Gas stations from Florida to Atlanta to Virginia were closing their pumps Monday evening due to a fuel shortage brought on by the Colonial Pipeline hack, which, I noticed the people were sharing on social media this screenshot of a news headline that said, gas shortages are coming. And it was dated April 27th or something like that. So a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but they've been pumping that thing for months. I think I tweeted out some screenshots too, that from like last September, October, saying like, oh, gas shortages are coming, and create that scarcity. Scarcity is another form of trauma, by the way, to get people in a frenzy and panic. We saw it with the toilet paper last year.
Yeah, now it's with gas.
It's with gas.
It's fun. There's a lot of gas shaming going on. People stocking up on gas, filling up a dozen, 5-gallon cans or something at the gas station. These pictures floating around social media. A lot of gas shaming. And even from conservatives, I'm seeing, people complain about these people stocking up, but it's very obviously just jealousy. I mean, these people are just doing what they got to do, man. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of talk of like, these are why there's a shortage. These types of people stocking up and taking the gas from the rest of us. It's like, okay, just say it. You couldn't get any gas and you're jealous that these people have extra gas. We get it. But from the perspective of those people, they're just being responsible. They're just prepping.
Yeah.
You're going to need the gas, man.
But it's also interesting that this comes at a time when the entire nation was captivated by Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live, the man who has the electric car company.
That's a good point. Yeah. But I do real quick to just go a little bit further, because I see some people in the chat who also are displeased with these people stocking up on gas. And Tony on YouTube makes a good point. Blame Colonial, not the gas buyers. And this brings up something that we really need to keep in mind in general, and especially more now as things seem to be getting a little cruddier here in the US, which is calling those people selfish only goes to serve the power structure of the big gas industry and Biden's infrastructure plan. It's the same thing with climate change, where, they want to blame individual citizens for what's wrong with the world when there are these corporate structures that are causing the problems. And getting into a frenzied mode of blaming your fellow citizen for something, we see it for pretty much every social movement. It's the basis of identity politics. It's the basis of the Republicans versus Democrats, is you blame individual citizens for their actions and their responses to things that are happening at a much higher level than they have any control over. And that attitude only goes to serve the power structure of the corporations and the elites. You got to focus on the cause of the problem, which is the elite power structure creating these issues that are causing people to respond in such a way. If you just get into the habit of blaming your fellow American for everything going on and ignoring the elite causes of these problems, you are literally just playing right into the plan of divide and conquer. We shouldn't be distracted by somebody doing right by their family and filling up on gas, and just totally let the power structures off the hook, let the corporations off the hook, let the government off the hook, because that's just turning you into a pro authoritarian
they're taking the bait. They're taking the bait.
Yeah, don't take
push
the
the
bait.
narrative. Yeah,
you should be uniting with your fellow American against the forces, the trends and forces that are causing these horrible situations. So that's my 2 cents.
Nothing against people that drive Teslas, by the way, but there's a lot of people that drive Teslas out here in my
Kind of
neck of
wish
the
I had a
woods.
Tesla.
And if this hits the West Coast in California, the day when all the Tesla people drive around, thinking they're all hot shots because they were ahead of the curb. I need to get me a horse. Like a real horse.
Me a horse. I would love that. I have been seriously considering, and it's unfortunate now because the interest rates are going up and the mortgage industry is cooling off. But
is it?
It is.
Oh, good.
It is.
Am I going to be able to buy a home without selling half of all of everything I own, or more than half?
Wait, what?
Not yet. I'm not going to be able to afford anything in California.
No,
go on.
The interest rates are going up and the mortgage industry is cooling off, which means mortgages are becoming more expensive now.
Oh, great.
That little bubble that we were seeing for the past year has sort of shrunk a little bit. But the point being is, should have just pulled the trigger and bought the 100 acres of Nevada wasteland when I had the chance.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just finish up these bullet points. Officials have warned the attack shows how vulnerable the U.S. is to cyber attacks, as if SolarWinds wasn't enough. These officials, man, they're really good at stating the obvious or lying about it. Biden said Monday, quote, "We need to invest to safeguard our critical infrastructure." Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, let me print $4 trillion.
Let me push more money or print more money.
Mm-hmm.
Another point here. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said the attack, quote, "tells you how utterly vulnerable we are to cyber attacks on U.S. infrastructure." Okay, just towing the narrative there.
Mm-hmm.
Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo warned such attacks are, quote, "here to stay." On Monday, and the last point here, this is my favorite one. On Monday, DarkSide posted an apology on the dark web and said they did not want, quote, "social consequences, nor did they seek political influence." So there you go. It looks like 1 point for the U.S. government, or I guess not the government per se, but the Colonial Pipeline there. It's almost like it reminds me of in sports. In recent years, there's been this thing called flopping. Do you know what flopping is, Basil?
Not in this context, no.
So in soccer, it's really bad, and it's been pretty bad in basketball too. So people pretend like they get hit, and there's a lot of slow-mo shots where like an arm will kind of graze a face, and the guy goes and he's falling over to try to get the call. That's kind of how this is. DarkSide, doing this cyber attack on a Colonial Pipeline, and Colonial Pipeline, we got to shut everything down. Oh no, infrastructure is vulnerable.
Right.
It's just kind of this fake out. It's just kind of weird.
And you got to remember, this is not a supply issue.
Yeah.
This is the pipeline. It's a transportation issue.
Yeah.
They didn't blow up all of our gas. It didn't disappear into space. The same gas has existed. It's just not able to get places, again, because they voluntarily shut down the pipeline because, this hacker network tried to extort some money from them.
By the way, just a side note, this was a headline from July 3rd of 2020. Colonial Pipeline to enter the terminal business.
Oh, what is that?
Terminal being like, what was the definition?
Like I had Tom Hanks living in an airport.
No,
eat to buy it.
It's like the highway, what's the word I'm looking for here? Company or organization whose business is the operation on a railroad. Let's see. Yeah, it's basically like the transportation systems.
Yeah.
Terminal. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So the gas didn't disappear. They just turned off the road that transports the gas.
It's the same thing as the Ronas. It's kind of a dial.
It's very similar to the Ronas.
Yeah, it's a dial. Right. It's a spigot. They can make it turn to a drip instead of a
COVID crashed our economy. No, the government crashed our economy and used COVID as the reasoning for it.
Right.
Okay. Anything else about that?
That's it. We can get into the WACCINE now.
Let's do it.
WACCINE. WACCINE.
And this WACCINE is also a politic special.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's combine WACCINE and politics here.
It's Latin for many. Now suck your blood. Politics. Your blood.
Politics, the many bloodsuckers. This is an article coming from the Washington Examiner, so sort of the right-leaning version of the Washington Post. I guess in name only. But the headline is Fauci denies NIH supported gain-of-function research at Wuhan lab. Oh, yeah. Did you imagine that?
The confrontation between Fauci and your buddy,
Paul.
Rand
Paul.
Yeah.
I should give him a call, see what he's up to.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are new to the show, I did have an opportunity to interview Rand Paul back when he was considering running for president in 2016. And I choked a little bit.
Spent half the time talking about his turtleneck or something.
I was in a room filled with men with guns and had 10 minutes to talk to Rand Paul. It didn't go that good, but it was great.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Job. Yeah.
Call me, Rand. Here we go. The article reads, Dr. Anthony Fauci denied that the National Institute of Health had funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab U.S. intelligence is investigating as a possible origin of the COVID-19 pandemic during a testy exchange with Republican Senator Rand Paul. They've had a couple of bouts.
They have.
Officials from both the Trump and Biden administration have said that the Chinese government worked for over a year to thwart an independent investigation into the origins of the virus. We've covered that pretty good, which has killed 3.3 million people worldwide. Here's the magic number. We finally hit the magic number for worldwide deaths. According to Johns Hopkins University, and both administrations cast doubt on the manner in which the WHO China study was conducted in early 2021. Though the WHO China report said a jump from animals to humans was most likely, Trump officials have pointed to an accidental escape from the Wuhan Institute of Virology as a highly plausible origin of the pandemic. I also want to mention not just Trump officials, but,
a lot of people,
scientists. The former head of the CDC, Robert Redfield, also said this. On Tuesday, Paul pointed to two broad issues. First, Dr. Ralph Barrick at the Gillings School of Global Public Health at UNC Chapel Hill, allegedly, quote, collaborating with the Wuhan lab's top scientist, Shi Zhengli, also dubbed the Bat Lady, on experiments related to the original SARS virus years ago. Second, NIH grants going to Peter Daszak's New York-based EcoHealth Alliance, which then provided some of that funding to the Wuhan lab, which a Trump State Department fact sheet contended carried out secretive gain-of-function experiments. HHS defines gain-of-function research as research, quote, that improves the ability of a pathogen to cause disease, help define the fundamental nature of human pathogen interactions, thereby enabling assessments of the pandemic potential of emerging infectious agents, and warns that gain-of-function studies, quote, may entail biosafety and biosecurity risks. During a Senate hearing on the coronavirus, Paul first pointed to the work between Barrick and Xi as evidence of U.S. support for gain-of-function research in China. Quote, this gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH, Paul contended. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Institute continues, he asked. Quote, Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan? Fauci, the director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden and the highest paid federal employee in the United States, replied, I added that part, Senator Paul, quote, Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. He added, quote, Dr. Barrick is not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina, not China. If you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it's not gain-of-function. An article in Nature Medicine published in 2015 following a study by Barrick, Shi, and others noted that, quote, the emergence of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus and Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS-CoV, underscores the threat of cross-species transmission, even leading to outbreaks in humans. The paper added, quote, here we examine the disease potential of SARS-like virus. This is one I haven't heard of. SHCO14-CoV, which is currently circulating in Chinese horseshoe bat populations using the SARS-CoV reverse genetics system. We generated and characterized a chimeric virus expressing the spike of bat coronavirus. The results indicate that group 2B viruses encoding the SHCO14 spike in a wild type backbone can replicate efficiency in primary human airway cells and achieve in vitro titers equivalent to epidemic strains of SARS-CoV. The scientists said that, quote, our work suggests a potential risk of SARS-CoV reemergence from viruses currently circulating in bat populations, which is a long way of saying we did gain-of-function research on coronaviruses. Yeah. An editor's note added to the article in March 2020 claimed, quote, we are aware that this article is being used as the basis for unverified theories that the novel coronavirus causing COVID-19 was engineered. There is no evidence that this is true. Scientists believe that an animal is the most likely source of the coronavirus. I love that. Scientists. Okay, which ones? How many? Are there scientists who believe the opposite? No, none of that. Just scientists, the abstract archetype spirit of scientist floating through the ether.
Well,
believes this.
That and also saying that they believe an animal is the most likely source of the coronavirus. Not specifying COVID-19, just saying coronavirus.
Oh, yeah. Good catch. Okay, now we get into the funding part. EcoHealth Alliance has received at least $3.7 million from 2004 to 2020, and DASIC, who was a key member of the WHO-China Joint Study Team, steered at least $600,000 in NIH funding to the Wuhan lab for bat coronavirus research, criticizing the Biden administration earlier this year for appearing skeptical of the WHO's findings and defending China to Chinese Communist Party linked outlets. U.S. embassy officials in China raised concerns in 2018 about lax biosecurity at the Wuhan lab led by Shi, who had worked with EcoHealth Alliance and DASIC. So let me give a very quick review that was referring to for those who might not have been following the entire story. The NIH gave money to EcoHealth Alliance, which is headed by Peter Daszak. EcoHealth Alliance gave money to the Wuhan lab, right, which had notorious safety violations over the past years. And so when Fauci says...
Yeah, the technicality is how Fauci is able to state, the NIH never gave money to Wuhan, the virology lab.
Right. Fauci didn't technically hand a check to the Wuhan lab. He gave the money to EcoHealth Alliance. EcoHealth Alliance gave it to the Wuhan lab. And EcoHealth Alliance, led by Peter Daszak, was on the team, if not the head of the team, of the HWO's investigation into the Wuhan lab. So he was on the team to investigate the safety of a lab that he funded, given money by Anthony Fauci's NIH. So, yeah. I guess technically Anthony Fauci isn't lying when he says he did not give money to the Wuhan lab, but we see you, Anthony. We know what's going on. Paul asked if Fauci still supported spending money into the Wuhan lab, sending money, to which the Biden health advisor replied, "We do not send money now to the Wuhan Virology Institute." Okay. Weird how you had to say now, but okay.
Well, didn't Daszak come out and kind of say that it's possible that it could have come from the lab more recently?
Yeah.
I think it was in February. He basically came out and said like, "Oh, it's still," because at first he was saying it's pure baloney. That's a quote. It's pure baloney.
Oh, I don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah. And then he said that it's possible. So,
yeah, well, because it's so obvious, the animal theory means it would have had to jump from a bat to a pangolin, and then I don't have the documents right here, but the pangolin that they were looking at was like 1,000 miles away. So they would have a bat would have needed to infect a pangolin. I don't know how that works, and I maybe don't want to know. And then the pangolin would have had to have waddled 1,000 miles to Wuhan to spread it from there.
It's the Nephilim penguin spreading the virus.
Yeah, maybe he hitchhiked or got an Uber or something. The Kentucky Republican, referring to Paul, then referenced NIH grants going to EcoHealth, which then provided subawards to the Wuhan lab, and repeated, "Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?" Okay, so yeah, Paul's calling him out.
Yep.
Fauci replied, Let me explain why that was done. Okay, so he is admitting that it was done.
It was done. There you go. He just called himself out.
It is the classic Fauci who just says something and then has to dig himself out of a hole.
Let me explain why it was done. Okay. All right.
Let's see what he has to say. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and serology to see who might have been infected. Okay, so there you go. You did send money. And nobody's saying it didn't come from a bat. I mean, you may have found it in a bat. There's the bat virus hunters, whose their entire job is to check bats for viruses, but then made its way to the Wuhan lab. Paul reported, quote, "Or perhaps it would be irresponsible to send it to the Chinese government. That way we might not be able to trust with this knowledge and with these incredibly dangerous viruses." The Republican then referred to, quote, "government scientists like yourself who support gain-of-function research," before Fauci interrupted him. Interrupted him? You know who interrupted people was Trump. Fauci.
Fauci's doing a Trump.
Fauci's pulling a Trump. "I don't support gain-of-function research in China," Fauci said. "You're saying things that are not correct." I don't support. Okay, so present tense. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus.
Just call him Tedros.
Okay, Tedros, the head of the World Health Organization, said in March that the joint WHO-China team had not fully investigated the potential of COVID-19 originating through an accidental leak from a Wuhan lab, a hypothesis he still needed further study. He still insisted needed further study, despite being essentially dismissed by the WHO-China team. Paul asked Fauci, quote, "Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?" Fauci said, quote, "I do not have an accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I am fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan
That's not
Institute."
what he asked you, buddy.
Wasn't the question. We heard you the first time, and we know how this works. But the Republican contended that Fauci does support gain-of-function research in the U.S., claiming that, quote, "You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing superviruses to be created. Quote, I fully agree that you should investigate where the virus came from. But again, we have not funded gain-of-function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology," Fauci said. Yada, yada, yada. My gosh. You say it, it's the big lie. You say it enough, people will believe it.
Yep.
Almost done here. A State Department fact sheet released in mid-January contended Wuhan lab researchers, quote, conducted experiments involving rat G13, the bat coronavirus identified by the WIV, this Wuhan Institute of Virology, in January 2020 as its closest sample to SARS-CoV-2, 96.2% familiar. Similar. And that the lab, quote, has a published record of conducting gain-of-function research to engineer chimeric viruses. The fact sheet added that the lab, quote, has engaged in classified research, including laboratory animal experiments on behalf of the Chinese military. NIH told the Washington Examiner earlier this year that the Wuhan lab is not an NIH grantee, but that the EcoHealth Alliance received NIH grants, then provided a subaward to the Wuhan lab. Oopsies, NIH. So Anthony Fauci is directly going against a statement from his own organization. Quote, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases determined the research in the grant was not gain-of-function research because it did not involve the enhancement of pathogenically or transmissibility of the virus studied, NIH said. Okay, so there you go. That's another liar, pants on fire from Fauci, which, you know what, is getting less and less exciting when it happens. It just happens so often.
Science is truth.
There you go.
Yeah, not anything surprising at this point. How is this guy still up there talking?
He has got a stranglehold.
Man.
I don't know what he knows. Maybe he has some Epstein tapes or something that he's holding over people, but it's crazy.
Or they got tapes on him or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, who knows? But he's sticking to he's got his story and he's sticking to it.
Yeah. All right, let's
or opposite of that, he keeps changing his story.
Yeah, nobody's paying attention. Yeah. All right, this next one here is from RochesterFirst.com. Governor Cuomo proposes legislation to stop discrimination against vaccinated individuals.
Oh, the discrimination against the vaccinated individuals. We must protect this at-risk group of vaccinated people.
Should we play the clip here?
Yeah.
Let's just try to play the clip.
Where people are discriminating against people who...
Oh, come on. Come on, Internet. Is it really giving us issues? It's at the slowest bit rate? What is going on here?
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't work, just read it.
Let me read it here. It's not too long.
It's great. It's a beautiful development. I love it. It's just so perfect.
New York City Governor Andrew Cuomo has proposed legislation aimed at stopping discrimination against those vaccinated against COVID-19. Quote, we can't
the oppression that these vaccinated people are experiencing.
We
must legislate. Sorry.
Okay. We can't be in a situation where we can't be in a situation where we're full-throated encouraging people to get a vaccine and then have people saying if you get a vaccine, you can't participate in this activity, end quote, says the governor on Monday. Who translated that? My goodness.
You know what? Nobody did is the thing. They just did the word for word quote, which is a great way to make somebody sound stupid.
The governor referenced a report in the Jewish Telegraphic Agency and other media outlets of a Sullivan County summer camp for Orthodox Jewish boys, Camp Hikon, who said they would not accept any campers or staff who had been vaccinated for COVID-19. Quote, I understand the anti-vaccine argument, said Cuomo. Really? He understands it? I'm kind of surprised about that. It's really interesting. Quote, in my opinion, there is no science to it. There's no science to the vaccine. There's no science to the anti-vaccine argument. Anyway, there is no science to it. He repeats it twice. You can have a theory, you can have a belief, but you can't use that to make public policy without science and without data. End quote. The governor did not lay out any timeline for when legislation could be presented to state legislators. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor...
Sorry, real quick, just to mention it, he's using the There is no science to it. There's no data, which, yes, is a great excuse, especially when you are purposefully not doing science and not gathering data.
Yeah.
It's that little trick.
Yeah, Cuomo, Cuomo the doctor. It's Dr. Cuomo.
Dr. Cuomo.
During the quote COVID-19 pandemic, the governor supported legislation that prevented discrimination against those who wore a mask. New York's mask mandate has been in place since April 17th, 2020. My goodness. And it goes into some bullet points here. Public places such as hotels, restaurants, transportation services, and retail stores cannot deny you entry or access to goods or services based on a perception that your national origin, race, or disability indicates possible exposure to the coronavirus. What? All right. Your employer cannot fire you, send you home, or tell you not to come to work because they think you may have been exposed to the coronavirus based solely on your race, national origin, or disability.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. This is giving me a headache. And a sub point here. It is an unlawful discriminatory practice to terminate an employee or prevent them from working based on speculation that the employee's race, national origin, or disability indicates possible exposure to the coronavirus. Okay. Next point. If your employer terminates you or sends you home based on what is later found to be a discriminatory policy, your employer could be responsible for your missed wages. If you're wearing a face mask as a precaution, you are still protected against discrimination. The HRL prohibits discrimination based on a perceived connection between race, national. Wearing a mask does not change this. If you have been harassed or threatened because someone thinks you have the coronavirus, call 911 and contact law enforcement to report the incident immediately. Subpoint. Threats and harassment based on race, national origin may be considered hate crimes.
Why is he talking? Are they trying to equate discrimination of race, national origin, et cetera, to getting the vaccine? I don't understand. How did the conversation go to
I don't know why they have
race?
This here. This is just the points they have. The order they've had since April 17th, 2020, the mask mandate. So I guess they're trying to say, like, similar to the mask mandate, now, just replace mask with vaccinated people. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's just a weird article.
So they're adding the vaccination thing, or they're trying to add
yeah,
vaccination status or pro status. Cause this is interesting. If they just say, you cannot discriminate based on vaccination status, that would include the non-vaxxed. Or
yeah, I think they're trying to say people that were vaccinated cannot be discriminated against.
Right. But I mean, it's all about how the legislation is worded.
Yeah.
Because if they're coming out and specifically putting word for word that you cannot discriminate against someone who has gotten the vax, they're still leaving open the discrimination. They're basically giving permission to discriminate against the unvaxxed, which is just fascist.
Well, that's not surprising, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, good luck there, Cuomo.
Love it. Good
like
job,
Teflon,
Cuomo.
all this other accusations about kissing women and stuff. He just moves on.
He just keeps pulling out all the hits. How is this guy still around? He's a perv and a predator, not of just women, but also a literal predator of the elderly.
The elderly, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Do people like him in New York? Or are they just kind of
know. I don't know a lot of people in New York, but I don't think so. He gets a lot of bad press.
He was the hero, but maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's how the mighty have fallen. That's what you get. He got an Emmy, and
I know he got an Emmy.
That's the thing. If you get that much attention from the media, it's not, your fall from grace can be swift and punishing.
Yeah. This next one is even more interesting. This is one from CNN.com.
I love this.
Yeah, go for it.
This might be the biggest story of the day. CNN.com quote headline: Why politicians won't reach the vaccine hesitant. It reads like this. A new Kaiser Family Foundation poll, there's that Kaiser Family Foundation again, finds that 64% of American adults have gotten or want a COVID-19 vaccine as soon as possible. 15% will wait and see, and 19% will either definitely not get one or will only get one if it is required. This data matches up with other polling that suggests that roughly 60 to 65% of American adults want a shot or have one. 15 to 20 will wait and see, and 20 don't want one. What's the point? The number of new Americans who have received a first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine has been tumbling in recent weeks, as the people who really want a vaccine have been able to get one. The need now is to get those who are hesitating, the wait and see group, to get past their hesitation, as the 20% of the vaccine resistors have been steady in their opposition. The question is how to get it done. A lot of attention has been spent on Republicans being the problem, leading to calls for former President Donald Trump to address the group. A look at the data
mind controlled.
Yeah. A look at the data reveals that the vaccine hesitant group, however, are not big Trump lovers.
Huh?
They're actually likely not to be Republican.
Oh, no, they found us out.
They figured it out. That's right. Vaccine hesitancers are not actually likely to be Republican. Instead, many of them are people who are detached from the political process and didn't vote for either major candidate in 2020. The most recent Kaiser poll helps illustrate that the vaccine hesitant group doesn't really lean Republican. Just 20% of the group called themselves Republican, with an additional 19% being independents who lean Republican. The clear majority, 61%, were not Republican. 41% said they were Democrats or Democrat-leaning independents, and 20 were either pure independents or undesignated. So let's see, 20% plus 19, that's 39% of vaccine hesitant people are Republican. 41% said they were Democrats. A higher percentage of Democrats are vaccine hesitant than Republicans. This completely dismantles and destroys the trend in the media that we have been seeing for the past couple of months, where the right-wing extremists are the ones that we need to pin down with a SWAT team and give the jab to. This is a complete reversal and destruction of a lie
of a
that has been
narrative,
repeated over and over and over, stigmatized an entire group of people and divided the entire country based on a complete lie that Republicans are the most vaccine hesitant. 3% more. 2%, sorry. Democrats make up the majority of anti-vax or vaccine hesitant people. It is just a beautiful day when actual numbers, actual data tell the truth.
Well, keep going if you want to.
Yeah.
Finish that.
Well, we'll just give them a couple more paragraphs here to try to wiggle their way out of this one. Remember, it's CNN, so let's see what they do to sort of squirm around this. This is very much unlike the vaccine-resistant group, of whom 55% of Republican or Republican-leaning independents. Just 21% of that group are Democrats or Democrat-leaning independents. They're talking about anti-vaxxers, which is very interesting. They've stopped actually using the term anti-vax, which is, again, it seems small, but it's actually a very big change in the messaging. The Kaiser poll points to a larger problem. There isn't going to be a single ideological message that appeals to a majority of the vaccine hesitant group. They're of all political stripes. Sorry, Jen Psaki and your NASCAR ad campaign and all the and your pastor bribing program. The March Kaiser Family Foundation poll shows us another issue. Traditional political type messaging may not work on them either. I love how it takes them months to figure this out. That poll asked respondents whether they were registered to vote and for whom they voted for in the 2020 election. The overwhelming plurality, 48%, were people who either didn't vote, voted third party, or weren't willing to disclose who they cast the ballot for. So, surprise, surprise, people who don't trust the government are the people who aren't getting the vaccine. So, sorry, government. Good luck. The rest were split 31% for Trump, 20% for Joe Biden. The poll gets at the fact that the efforts to vaccinate the population isn't a political campaign to reel in voters. If we use traditional election tactics to reach the vaccine hesitant group, we're likely to lose. Just 62% of the voting age population, blah, blah, blah. Then it goes into some more numbers that are sort of I don't know, not important to this discussion. So there you go, Gons. So when I was watching John Oliver, he did this whole big thing about the vaccine hesitant people. And it was just filled with sort of blatant misinformation or manipulation of data. One example being talking about the 26 elderly people who died in Norway after getting the vaccine. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he says, well, elderly people are expected to die anyways. There's 400 elderly people die in Norway every day, so it's no big deal. He didn't mention that the 26 people who died after taking the vaccine all came from the same home and got the same batch of an elderly home that had something like 60 people in it. So, he's saying, oh, people are just going to die. They were expecting old people to die. I don't think they were expecting 26 people in the same elderly home to die within a week. It was a complete manipulation of the information.
Yeah.
But you saw his last big push at the end of that segment was he basically came out and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to convince anybody to get the vaccine. I can't do that. And you shouldn't send this segment to your vaccine hesitant friends. It's not going to help. But you vaccinated citizen, you need to peer pressure your friends and family into getting the vaccine. It's the only way it's going to happen. It's not about politics. It's not about celebrities. It's not about it. And nobody is going to respond to me telling them, but you go out and shame your friends and family into getting the vaccine. It was sick. It was just completely sick, calling for, turning their family away until they get the vaccine. And I'm a little bit sensitive towards this because I know people close to me who their parents are refusing to visit them or be visited by them because they're unvaccinated. And it's a mind control that is so strong that it's pushing families away from each other.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Just to mention here, this study by Kaiser, the sample size here is 2,097 people.
Yeah.
Not the biggest sample group.
Yeah, it's true, but that's a bigger sample size than a lot of the polls we see come out.
Sure, it's interesting.
A lot of those polls, they'll do 100 people.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's easy math to do.
Yeah,
you only ask 100 people. You don't need a mathematician to work those numbers.
And it was a nationally representative random digital dial telephone sample. So all these people answered that random call that most people don't. And it is interesting because 817 were Democrats, only 321 Republicans, and 544 independents. So they didn't really get a large Republican sample size. But no. I
think those random dialing services, that's kind of the best practices for these polls.
And I think potentially it justifies moves like this. Just real quick, the Guardian headline: McDonald's and Uber to help encourage vaccine hesitant Americans. It's there's a lot of desperation through the corporate infrastructure to push the vaccine. And I feel like that kind of study could justify like, hey, we still need to reach the Democrats. We really got to do it. And the money flowing between these organizations and the government and everything else to promote this thing. It would be, well, I don't know. Maybe it's more justified from these corporations if we still need to reach more Democrats. The Republicans are lost cause, whatever it is. But very interesting to point out anyway.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those opportunities. Remember, we have all these articles available at the show notes at canarycrynewstalk.com. New and improved website. Check it out. Click into the episode. And this would be one to save, because when you come in contact with someone in your life who insists that it's crazy right-wing extremist domestic terrorists not getting vaccinated, you can pull this out and say, oh, actually, CNN, your favorite news site, reported that it's actually majority Democrats that are vaccine hesitant. Yeah. And you're buying into a, whether it's the CIA or not, a government created narrative.
Right. And some additional stories from the WACCINE POLYTICK realm that we didn't cover today. There was a Newsom $38 billion bailout for California, but more along the jab talk. Japan rejects blood donations from jabbed people. The people that have been vaccinated cannot donate blood in Japan. Very interesting.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I was reading something else. You said vaccinated people can't give blood?
Yes, in Japan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It is kind of a big deal.
Also, you zoomed right by it. California is getting a bailout?
Yeah, $38 billion from Newsom. I think it's Newsom's final push to try to remain in office for the extra year there.
Wasn't that? I thought we talked about that last episode, that was a discretionary fund. They just had that left over.
Oh, I don't know. You had brought in the article after we'd finished last episode, but we weren't going to cover it today.
Oh, okay. We don't need. Yeah, no. Newsom is claiming that they have a what's the word when you have extra money left over after your budget? And it's like, after all the financial trouble of California, suddenly you have $38 billion left over.
Didn't they lose like 30 something billion to scams?
Yeah, California has notoriously been in a deficit for years. And suddenly there's a magical $38 billion laying around. And my theory behind that is that was a bailout and that they got federal money because they want to keep Newsom in. And so suddenly a magical $38 billion shows up, and he wants to do a California COVID relief, much like the federal one, where you get, you got your IRS check or your treasury check. California wants to do a California specific one. Yeah. So I don't know. He's trying to buy votes for the recall is what he's doing.
He's fighting Caitlin for California.
Yeah. After that great ad, he's like, uh-oh.
He's like, oh, I better pull out my wallet.
I need to ask Biden for $38 billion and just hand it out on the street.
A couple more headlines that we didn't get to, or we won't get to. AIDS used to build Rona-fighting immune system in children. That was an AP article. And
what? Okay, I don't know if we can just skip past these. Let's put them in the next show. These are good for the next show.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the AIDS virus.
That's a big one.
The AIDS virus used in gene therapy to fix bubble baby disease. So yeah, we can cover it the next episode, but they will be in the show notes in additional stories. And then producer Scott sent us an article that was titled 57. Oh, let me get the exact title here. 57 leading scientists, doctors, and public policy experts call for immediate halt to COVID vaccine programs. And it's a really long article, so we don't have to cover it now, but it goes through all of the reasons for that and has a huge reference list of 41 references in this article to make their case to stop the COVID vaccine program. So all that's in the show notes.
That's like an entirely new show. We might cover some of those. Yeah. We might cover those on the next show.
But to wrap up the segment here, Bloomberg.com, CDC limits review of vaccinated but infected, draws concern. And let's go through it. Federal health officials this month decided to limit how they monitor vaccinated people who have been infected with COVID-19, drawing concerns from scientists who say that may mean missing needed data showing why and how it happens. At the end of April, more than 9,000 Americans were reported to be infected after being vaccinated, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. While that's a tiny percentage of the 95 million people fully inoculated at the time, researchers still want to find out what specific mechanisms may be spurring the infections. Rare breakthrough cases are expected since no vaccines are 100% effective, but tracking and sequencing the cases helps in figuring out who may be more at risk, whether new variants evade the vaccine, and when protection from the shots begin to wane. At the same time, those infected, some of whom are suffering widespread medical issues, even if they're not hospitalized, say they feel lost as a result of the lack of information. Quote, "We shouldn't be narrowing the focus. We should be broadening and develop a systematic plan," said Eric Topol, director of the Scripps Research Translational Institute in La Jolla. At the start of May, the CDC shifted from monitoring all reported breakthroughs to only those that result in hospitalization or death. Tom Clark, head of the Vaccine Evaluation Unit for the CDC Vaccines Task Force, said in an interview, "The goal of the new strategy, according to the agency, maximize the quality of data collected on cases." Okay. The CDC says its numbers are probably an undercount since their surveillance system is passive and relies on voluntary reporting from state health departments that may not be complete. You know, they made the same excuse about the death count last year from Corona. They're like, oh, it's probably underreported, and we rely on the state health departments to give us the numbers. And then last episode, we talked about how the CDC lowered the cycle threshold count of people who were vaccinated who also got COVID-19, to get lab tested or not lab tested, but to accept the report from the PCR tests. Their cycle threshold had to be under 28 because obviously over 28 can produce false positives.
Yeah, you don't want those false positives.
Yeah, not anymore. Not now. Not after the vaccine is out there.
Yeah, I know. You need more negative tests to prove that the government is the good guy.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Bloomberg also, like, you know, it's hard because the way the data is collected is it's the public doing it. It's not so much us. The agency shifted its strategy because there's few worrying patterns in the data collected so far, suggesting the focus should be on the most severe cases, Clark said. He added that the agency has planned other vaccine studies, including one with a network of health centers to compare disease severity and frequency of variant infections between vaccinated and unvaccinated people. Quote, "I don't think we're missing out on this data," Clark said. "It's just sort of a package of how we're looking at these questions."
Okay.
I'm going to start using that.
Great.
I don't know. We're not. No. Just deny whatever and then say, oh, it's just a package.
It's just a package of how we're doing it.
It's a package.
I don't know what the big deal is.
Michael Kinch, a former drug developer who's now associate vice chancellor at Washington University in St. Louis, says
vice chancellor
says as much information as possible should be recorded on breakthroughs. Cases that don't rise to hospitalization are still important to track, he says, since symptoms that aren't as severe for someone could eventually lead to hospitalizations. Yeah, you know, he's towing the original narrative.
Makes too much sense.
Yeah, the original narrative of like, oh, if you get it, even if it's not bad, you need to stay at home and wear your masks, social distance, because you could spread it to someone else, you know? Mm-hmm. But when the CDC shifts, you know, some people can't keep up with the shifting narrative.
I know, I didn't get the memo.
Non-life-threatening symptoms can impact someone's life greatly and evolve over time, Kinch said. Quote, "It's essential that we stay on top of this," he added. If we let our guard down, we will pay the price. And it goes into some different stuff here. I don't think we need to get into all the details, but let me read the last paragraph. Or no, is it the last? No, this is a long article. There's a section of the article called Dead End. Quote, I feel a little lost, almost kind of at a dead end. Landon said in an interview, I think Landon, who's Landon here? She tested Brianna Landon, 23, Utah resident, who tested positive after getting the vaccine, being fully vaccinated. She recognized it's possible she never fully recovered from the first round of COVID, but she had gotten multiple negative tests before she tested positive again. When she called with her local health department, they told her she probably got infected with the variant, but didn't ask further. She said, quote, they didn't want to do a PCR test, do any sequencing on it, or research it further, which made me feel even more at a dead end, Landon said. Quote, I mean, isn't this something we want to look into? We're in the middle of a pandemic, and don't we want to research this and find out what's going on? Jenny Johnson, a public information officer at the Utah Department of Health, said the agency encourages people to get the appropriate PCR testing within 48 hours of a positive rapid test. An appropriate PCR testing within 48 hours of a positive rapid test. Okay, so if you get test positive from a rapid test, go get a PCR. Tracking down samples from sequencing is challenging since they're taken from PCR tests, which is up to the individual to take, she says. I don't know, man. There's just, even the people that are, like, I feel bad for this Landon lady, 23, she gets the Rona, she's fully bought in, she gets the full jab, and then she gets Rona again, and then the officials are like, well, yeah, but you're not hospitalized, so we don't need anything further.
You.
Yeah, you don't count.
Yeah.
So, hey, maybe she'll wake up to the reality of the situation from
That's how experience. It happens, man. At some point, people start to understand.
I know. All right, well, we're ready for a producer party. Are you ready for producer party?
Let's do it.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're just going to take a quick break, have a little producer party. Don't go anywhere. After the party, we are going to check in with Science is Truth and some aliens. We got a 150-year study that, I don't know, involves evolution and it just complicates things. Then we're going to be checking in.
I was going to say that affirms my theory. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It affirms Gonza's theory.
Yes.
So you don't want to miss it. And then we'll be checking in with the beast system. Yeah. But before that, we want to thank some producers. That's right. I said producers, and I mean it. And what I also mean is to thank profusely the producers who heeded the call and came in and produced the show while we were doing the show today. Thank you very much. We can take a sigh of relief. Yeah, we can say it now. We had, I think, like 2 producers before we mentioned it, like 2 or 3, and like a bunch of deletions. It was very sad and scary. But you guys came in, made it happen. We appreciate it. So let me tell you. Why am I talking about producers? That's because we are on the value for value model, everybody. You might have noticed no advertisements, no affiliate codes, no vitamin supplements, no nothing. That's because we believe that the advertising industry is not just another business industry, but it's a global theology that is cause for so many problems in the world. You know, you think big Silicon Valley, big tech companies, you got Google, you got Facebook. When it comes to those guys, 99% of their income comes from advertising. It's the reason for big data collection. It's the reason for privacy concerns. It's the reason for spying by big corporations. And we just decided that is just not cool, man. Participating in the advertising industry is giving consent to all of those horrible things that we just believe are, some of the worst things to come about in society, especially regarding the beast system. And so, we don't buy into the Hegelian dialectic mind control, creating a problem and trying to sell you the solution to it. We're not teaming up with big corporations to hijack your time and attention and your trust, package it up and sell it off to some big advertising company just so we can make a pittance. Nay, we are part of the revolution against the advertising industry, and that's just the value for value model. I mean, it's simple, isn't it? You create value, and then value is returned to you by people who value it. And if you're out there, you've been listening to 1 episode or 10 episodes or 200 episodes, whatever it is, if you find value out of what we do, you have the opportunity, and some might say even the responsibility, to raise the rebel fist in the air and join us in this battle against the stranglehold of advertisement over all of us, not just us, not just you, not just the creators, but every single person is affected by the monstrosity of the advertising industry. And it's very simple. We create value. We do it 3 times a week, and we do the very best we can at it. And if you get any value out of what we do, go ahead and become a producer of the show. And when we say producer, it's not just a cute term that we made up. You are literally a producer of the show that, when you pay to have a piece of media produced, you're a producer. That's the thing. And also, we thank you for your generosity and your trust in us to keep doing the show. So there's a couple ways to do that. The first way to do that is by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT. That's for Canary Cry News Talk. Patreon.com/CCNT. And we had, one person come in during the show at the Patreon. Thank you very much. And that is our new producer, GJSM. Thank you very much, producer GJSM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There we go.
Didn't see it on the list there.
I know. I just looked at it and it just came in. So
All
thank you
right.
very much, GJSM.
GJSM.
GJSM. Doonch, doonch, doonch. Okay. Thank you very much. What else we got? I think that's it. No other Patreon producers. Actually, you know what? Let me just pop right over to the other Patreon account. Okay.
While you do that, I do want to mention that we still get offers to advertise.
Yeah.
And I won't read who it's from here, but we got an inquiry a couple times from somebody, and this is a note we received. Bumping my original email to connect on revenue opportunities for your podcast. Below is a brief outline of the different monetization strategies we offer. So we can host, read endorsements, approve or decline brands you want to work with instantly. Programmatic advertising, which is passive revenue on every episode across your catalog. Subscriptions at a paywall.
Catalog.
Yeah, add a paywall to any episode or an entire show and build recurring revenue. Donations enable your listeners to support you one time or on an ongoing basis quickly and easily through Google and Apple Pay. And they list a whole bunch of brands that they're working with. And no thank
it's
you.
One of these things. They want to get us in their system so they can pimp us out.
Yeah, and we get these fairly often, that they want to work with us to,
because they
distribute the advertising.
They see people they want the content. They love the show, and they're like, they just see dollar signs.
They see the audience. They don't see the content.
Yeah, everyone. That's what I mean. Yeah. They see every one of you. They look at our numbers and they say, "Ooh, we can make money off of these people." Nuh-uh. No way, Jose. Don't touch our people. We are free,
protecting you.
They're free individual people, and we have a moral and ethical responsibility to not package you guys up and sell you off to whoever this is. So, yeah, there you go. Just we continue to get these offers, but which obviously shows that they either don't watch all of the show I mean, that's what it is. They
Clearly
don't
it's just
watch
based
it.
on numbers and
it's a matter of
analytics.
once we do that, we can't say everything we want to say. You know, you become brand unfriendly. We would have to censor ourselves, not cover certain things, cover other things that are lame. No, it's just not how we do it. Yeah. All right. Now, the other way to become a producer is to head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. canarycryradio.com/support. Don't worry. That site is going to be getting a refresh soon as well. I know since our WordPress theme expired, it just doesn't exist anymore. It's like this weird HTML block of text website. So we do apologize for that, but we're working on fixing it. But over there's a couple of fun things. You can read about the value for value model. You can learn about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, and you can become a producer in plenty of ways. There's cryptocurrency options for you cool crypto people, but also you can come in as a monthly recurring producer. And we are so grateful to all of our monthly recurring producers for helping lay down a firm foundation of the show, a nice little set it and forget it. And just know that you are a essential part of keeping the show going. I do want to say real quick, for those who think that they, signed up to be a monthly recurring producer, PayPal has a habit of just deleting those recurring producerships without telling anybody. They don't tell us, they don't tell you, they just stop doing it. So if you are a monthly recurring producer, and just take a second just to check and log on, make sure you, if you want to be producing the show, just log on, make sure that didn't get deleted. And not only that, but if commitment is not your thing, you can become a producer in a one-time amount, in any amount that you'd like. And we're very grateful for those. Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
Okay, on the PayPal. Let me move my way over here. Computer's acting kind of slow today. I don't know what's going on. First up, we have producer Tristan H.
Thank you very much, Tristan H. And I'm happy to announce Tristan H., producer Tristan, is on fire.
Great. He says, do two people walk together unless they have agreed to meet? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion growl from his den unless he has captured something? Does a bird fall into a trap on the ground where there is no device in it? Does a trap spring up from the earth when it captures nothing at all? If a trumpet blows in a city, will the people tremble? If a disaster occurs in the city, has Yahweh not brought it about? Ooh. Amos 3 verses 3 through 6. 336 episode.
Oh, 336. Yep. Okay, very interesting.
There you go. Thank
you
sir.
Very much, producer Tristan, who is officially on fire with his producer streak.
Next up, we have producer James H.
James H., who is continuing to heat up on his producer streak, comes in with $100.16. And it'll make sense in a second. A note here. Hello, Basil and Gons, and all who make up the Canarium. That's all you guys. Being in the world, but not of it, can be tough some days. I am truly grateful for your show, so be truly glad. I am truly glad. There is wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. 1 Peter 1:6. NLT.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you very much, producer James H. Appreciate the streak and appreciate the producership.
I believe, does that make him an executive producer for this episode or no?
I think so, yeah. Yep, he is the executive producer for this show.
Got it. Next up, we have producer Shield Labs.
Woo! That's Sir Casey, the Knight of... let me get it correct here. Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sir Casey. And I am happy to announce, due to his producership streak, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight, is on fire. This is what happens when we don't get jingles, but I'm having fun.
Yeah,
I don't know about you guys.
So should I ignore this note, this fact check we got from Shield Labs? in an email.
I was unaware we have a fact check from Shield Labs.
Let me just read it real quick. It says from Shield Labs, had to make a correction on Basil. Sorry, best buddy.
Oopsies.
Gons had my back asking why I don't get an on fire, to which Basil said I wasn't on a 6+ streak.
Oh, I have an answer to this, but keep going.
Okay, but just to let you know, and I just forwarded my knighthood producership as proof. I'm not only on 6+, but I've been consistently producing every episode since February 10th. I think what might have thrown you off a few times, I produced with credit card and not normal PayPal. Just a fact check.
Nope, it is a fact check, and he is correct. But I did say it when I first introduced the streaks that I only counted back 3 episodes to start.
Right.
So yes, you and producer Tristan are on, and I believe it's you two, are on much longer streaks, but I couldn't just go back indefinitely and count the streaks. So we started the streak count 3 episodes before episode 333. So, and now we're on 336. So that is a 6 streak from the beginning of the counting. So you are correct, Shield Labs. You are on a much longer streak, but I had to draw the line on where to start the initial counting.
And
so
he also said that he wants to produce an art piece, a giveaway for a giveaway. And he's thinking about doing some limited canary coins or medallions that could be given out or something like that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes, we definitely need to reach out about that. Let's get in contact.
And let's make it an NFT too. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, make it an NFT. It's a nifty coin.
Oh boy. So there you go. Thank you, Sir Casey. But Sir Casey does send in a note here. Just got my copy of Age of Deceit in the mail. Can't wait to lend it out and rattle some people's cages. Thanks for all you guys do. God bless Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. Thank you very much, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sergey S.
Thank you very much, producer Sergey. And Sergey sends in an old school producership.
Oh, yeah, this is old.
It's the Trump tax producership in the amount of $7.50. Yeah, that's a good reminder for those looking for fun numbers to produce with. $750 was the amount Trump paid in taxes one year, and it was a big hubbub. That was a long time ago. But yeah, so
the simpler days when we were talking about Trump's taxes.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. So thank you very much, producer Sergey, and thank you for the blast from the past Trump tax producership.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Next up, we have producer Debbie R.
Thank you very much, producer Debbie. You're the best.
Yeah, thank you so much for the consistency too. Next up, we have producer Tracy R.
Thank you very much, producer Tracy, coming in with the $33.33. The note reads, you guys are such a blessing. We are producing for you both. Thank you very much, producer Tracy, for the Illuminati Handler producership.
Yep. And next up, we have producer Andrea K.
Yeah, thank you very much, producer Andrea K. Nice little note here. Keep up the good work. Much love, Andrea K.
Thank you. Thank you. And next up, oh gosh, is it Stefan or Steven? What do you think? We have a few Stefan Stevens, but I don't know which one it is, but I'll say Steven M.
Thank you very much, Steven M. Steven M coming in with a highly suspect $6.66.
Yeah.
The note reads, keep up the good work, guys. I hope Basil's leg is okay and doesn't have too many holes in it. Grace and peace. I have healed. That was from a few episodes ago. Yeah. Thank you very much, producer what did we decide?
Steven.
Steven. Thank you, producer Steven.
Which means it's probably Stefan.
I know. We can never get it right.
We never get it right. Next up, we have Kill Sport.
Ooh, good pronunciation on the Kill Sport. Thank you very much, producer Kill Sport, coming in with 3333, Illuminati Handler.
Yep. And should we read the note, or is that just a note for us?
I think that might have just been for us.
Okay, to make sure we pronounce his name correctly.
Yes.
Which we just did. Yay.
We did it. Thank you. Thank you for the note.
Thank you, Kill Sport. Next up, we have producer Marty K.
Thank you very much. Producer Marty K comes in with a note. Thanks for all your guys' hard work and for keeping it Christ and biblically centered. One Mac in Texas in the chat. I think that's one Mac. Is that supposed to be iMac with a one? iMac in Texas?
I don't know. Maybe Lemac?
Let us know, iMac, if you're in there.
Make.
But thank you very much for the producership.
Thank you very much. And lastly here from PayPal, producer Ceiling Fan Man.
Woo! Thank you very much, producer Ceiling Fan Man. Thank you for standing up for the Spirit of Jesus Christ. God bless you. And thank you for your generosity, Ceiling Fan Man. Just as a reminder for all producers out there, we generally do not read amounts unless it is in some sort of, what is it? Significant number. Like, if it's a round number, we generally don't read amounts for anonymity's reasons.
Yep. There you go. All right. Well, that does it for the PayPal, the people who have contributed with their treasure. You can also support the show with your time and talent. For the timestamps, we want to thank Jade Bouncerson for doing the last episode 335. Thank you for that. And we got the note, and we will only highlight the people who actually do it. I know it's a team over there that Jade Bouncerson is putting together, but we'll do our best to simply highlight the individual who does the last episode.
Yeah, there we go. Sounds good.
Go. And you can also send jingles. And we don't have any jingles today, but we do have some artwork to share.
One art, please.
And to kick things off in the art, we have one from producer Allie.
One art, please. One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
She gets her own jingle. I'm still so amazed.
Yeah. Thank you, Marty B, for the jingle.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. What do we got here? Oh,
this is Artur Pawlowski. This is the
Canadian Polish pastor.
Yes. And
you gotta, he's the get out of here, you Nazi.
Oh, yeah. I should play
scum.
the.
Nazis are not welcome here. Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
That's that
Nazi
guy.
psychopaths. Yeah.
I heard he's out on bail. I think the people got him out on bail, so that's good.
Good.
And the note just reads, unashamed, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. Romans 1, verses 16 through 17. And I don't know, there's just something so righteous about what he did there.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
Yeah, he's becoming something of an icon for the church being persecuted.
Yeah, let's not turn him into anything.
No idolatry here,
no
but
idolatry.
he is doing a lot of things I think a lot of people wish that their pastors would be doing.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, for sure. So thank you for that, Allie. It's looks just a drawing of him. It looks like a lineup, to be honest, like a sketch.
Maybe it's his mugshot.
It's a mugshot. Yeah. Very well done. Once again, Allie, thank you so much. And we only have one more piece of art, and it's from producer Marius. Am I saying that right? Marius?
I don't know.
Let me double check. Yep,
yeah,
Marius.
Sounds right.
And, I was under the impression that Marius was giving us the sequence of Canary Cry, from 2012, 2013. But somehow we got thrown back in time here. This is the Canary Cry Vapor Team 1995. It's got some anime character. Is it Akira?
I don't know who that is, but yes, I'm a little anime boy, Basil, with big googly eyes.
I think it's Akira. And then on the right is, it's supposed to be me, I guess. But it's that, I don't know. I don't know what this guy's name is.
Is it the Mortal Kombat guy?
Is he the Mortal Kombat guy? Yeah, I guess he is.
I'm not sure exactly what it's from, but that was about when Mortal Kombat,
the original, like the OG Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. I don't know who it is. I'm trying to look it up, but my Googling is very slow right now.
Yeah, you're not a good goog. not a good Goog guy.
I don't get to use a keyboard. Oh, by the way, my VR handset is broken. Like, see this circle thing right here?
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge crack right here in the middle, and I have no idea how that happened. Maybe I'm just very strong. It's like a hard plastic. I have no idea how that happened, but anywho.
Yeah. I'm trying to find this cast here from the 1995 Mortal Kombat here, and it looks like, boy.
It's Canada and Liu Kang. Liu Kang
is the name of the character, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You want to find the actor's name?
I don't think that's, well, anyway.
Shang Yu Sheng?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm getting a lot of different things in the chat here. Okay, I've got 2 votes for Liu Kang. Let me just...
I'm looking at Liu Kang. It doesn't look like Liu Kang. I don't think it's Liu Kang from the original Mortal
Shang
Kombat.
Tsung? I'm going to check Shang Tsung. Okay, hold on. Stop the show, everybody.
I think it might be Shang Tsung.
This is of utmost importance.
Shang Tsung is the... No. Well...
Yeah, it's Shang Tsung.
Okay, so... Carrie...
at least that's what...
Hiroyuki Tagawa is the name of the actor. Is that him?
I don't know, man.
Hey, I am on the IMDb. I don't know.
Okay.
That's him. Carrie Hiroyuki Tagawa. There you go. Oh, wow. This is a young picture of him. All right. So anyway, it's I guess that's supposed to be me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's you. That was you in 1995. It's a spitting image.
I was an older Mortal Kombat guy in the 90s. I figured out reverse aging, and I am.
All right. Let's keep going here.
Okay.
We got to get out of here.
That's it for the art. So thank you for the art. And just a reminder that producer Ciara is doing her meetup this weekend, or no, not this weekend. It's coming up on, I guess it's next weekend.
It's the 20th.
Next weekend, 20th, 21st, 22nd in Florida. Yeah. It's the all weekend CCC meetup. Choose your own adventure. It's Disney Springs on the 20th, Reyes Mezclera for Occult Bingo on the 21st, and Universal Studios on the 22nd.
Yes, go do that. If you're in, I know for a fact that we have a ton of producers and listeners in Florida. So you should definitely put the time and effort into meeting up with other Canarians. It's very important in these times. Send an email to Ciara Loren 93. That's CIARALAUREN 93. at gmail.com to RSVP for that and get the details.
Yeah. And there's no excuse in Florida. You got the DeSantis protection over there.
I know. It's a good place to be, man.
Yeah. All right. That does it for our pee-pee party. What is it called?
Producer party.
Oh, our pee-pee break.
Yeah. All right. Let's wake on up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okie dokie. Right. Let's start out with some Science is Truth.
Science is truth.
That's right. This is coming from evolutionnews.org. Wow. Evolution news. You know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to say I've in the past promoted robotics.news. I used it for a lot of Flippy updates and things like that. But they have revealed themselves to be a part of the Natural News Network. And it's completely filled with ads and I hate it. So don't go to robotics.news anymore. I'm very disappointed. But this is evolutionnews.org. And the headline, scientists conclude human origins research is a big mess. In several articles at Evolution News, wait, that is not it. Is it? In several articles at Evolution News and podcasts at ID The Future, I have described in recent years how human origins research is in a ridiculous state of constant major rewritings and refutations of allegedly indisputable textbook wisdom. This is mainly due to surprising new discoveries of hominin fossils. The situation goes far beyond the healthy, normal progress of science. Oh no. Instead, it suggests that something is wrong with the general narrative. You don't say. Which needs not just some rewriting here and there, but a major rethinking and paradigm change.
Paradigm.
That is very interesting. A new review study. This critical view has again been confirmed with a new review study by in the prestigious journal Science, which especially evaluates the role of Miocene apes for evolutionary scenarios of human origins and the reconstruction of the last common ancestor of chimps and humans. The authors discuss the numerous conflicting hypotheses and elaborate on two very different approaches with incompatible conclusions. A bottom-up approach considers the chimp-human LCA, last common ancestor, as a quadrupedal knuckle-walking chimp-like creature, while an alternative top-down approach considers some strange bipedal and tree-climbing Miocene apes as model for this LCA. The authors remark about the fossil record, quote, after 150 years of continuous discoveries, essential information about human origins remain elusive. Even worse, relatively complete fossil apes, undisputedly assigned to early members of the gorilla and chimpanzee lineages, remain to be found. Considering the large number of fossils attributed to the human lineage, this striking absence of such fossils for the great African ape lineages is surprising and raises an obvious suspicion. Could it be that the greater fame associated with the discovery of human fossils plays a role in their overinterpretation? This definitely seems to have been the case for Sahelanthropus, among other examples. The authors also realized the conflicting evidence in the data and the biased approaches of scientists studying this evidence. Here's block quote. Such contrasting views about dryopiths stem from their incomplete and fragmentary fossil record, coupled with pervasive homoplasy. However, because these factors are equal for all researchers, their different conclusions must also relate to analytical differences, such as taxonomy, sampling, polymorphic, and continuous trait treatment. The root of the conflict is the remarkable differences in subjective definition and scoring of complex morphologies. The phylogenetic and geographic origin of hominins remains contentious. A large grain of salt. Now, this goes on and on. Shall I continue?
Not necessarily. Just go down to the just a big mess part here. Just kind of the last couple paragraphs.
So just a big mess. In this press release, the senior author of the new study, Sergio Almazija, a senior research scientist at American Museum of Natural History, is also quoted as offering this remarkable admission. Quote, when you look at the narrative for hominin origins, it's just a big mess. There's no consensus whatsoever. Oh no! And we know that consensus is the golden calf of science. That is a fair assessment indeed, which admittedly does not mean that these evolutionary speculations are all wrong or futile enterprises. However, it at least shows that those bold, hardcore Darwinists who think they can dismiss and rebuke Darwin critics and ID proponents with some grandiose claims of allegedly settled science are not just vastly overstating their case, but indeed are ignorant of the current state of scientific debate. Oh no! Oh, these poor evolutionists are ignorant of the current state of scientific debate. The question of human origin is far from being resolved, and non-mainstream opinions should be explored.
Options.
option should be explored based exclusively on the available evidence rather than being rejected due to worldview bias. Wow. That's a big thing. You know, growing up in the church, I had atheist, agnostic friends as a young teen, things like that. And it was always really annoying because they would it always goes down to, well, we have the fossils. We got the fossil record. The fossil record is perfect and complete. It's the fossils. If it wasn't true, then what about the fossils? It's like, hello. Are you ignorant of the current state of scientific debate?
Yeah.
Point being, we don't have the fossils.
No, we don't. There's, what is it? I don't think it's called the gap theory, but it's called like the missing fossils. I can't remember the name of it. There was some name labeled to that fact. Mm-hmm. But I think this is paving the way, Basil, to a theory that I have been thrown out there.
Aliens.
I think they're getting ready to explore new narratives for the origin of humans from academia and the ivory tower of science to include something like directed panspermia. And this was the seeds of this was planted by Richard Dawkins in the film. What was the name of the film? Somebody in the chat. I can't remember it's the. Well, anyway, I have a clip here to play.
Okay.
It was oh gosh, I'm stumbling all over myself. What is the name of the film? It's the one with the, all right, I'm just going to play the clip. You guys can remember remember the guy.
And how did that happen? I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that at some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer.
Wait a second. Richard Dawkins thought intelligent design might be a legitimate pursuit?
And that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe. Well, but that higher intelligence would itself have had to have come about by some explicable or ultimately explicable process. It couldn't have just jumped into existence spontaneously. That's the point.
Like the entire universe?
Big bang. Bang.
Why
the
not?
Why universe
the entire universe jumped into existence out of nothing, apparently to the Big Bang. Why couldn't some intelligent designer?
The movie is called Expelled, 2008, with Ben Stein, Bueller. And that's the famous moment when evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins entertained the idea of directed panspermia as perhaps the origin. And directed panspermia is the deliberate transport of microorganisms in space to be used as introduced species on lifeless but habitable astronomical objects. And if you ever watched the movie Prometheus, there's a scene at the very beginning where one of the alien dudes, like the buff alien dudes, kind of dissolves into this black goo after he drinks this thing, and he goes into the water on Earth. And, you know, it's supposed to be like that's what supposedly started humanity, you know, the whole evolutionary process here on Earth. Mm-hmm. That's the messaging going on. So all I'm saying is that, you know, with the clear mess that the human origins research is in terms of the academic ivory towers, I don't think it's out of the question for them to start adopting this directed panspermia narrative, especially when you look at some of the, like Richard Dawkins said, the signatures in the biochemical and the biology of the human genome and stuff like that. There's a clear sort of teleological overview of everything, that like there's design there. It's not just something that sprang out of nothing, or so they seem. You know, it's a good use of trying to push that narrative, because ultimately they would never admit that, hey, we were created by God. You know, they're always going to say, oh, there has to be an explanation. And, you know, we're not going to admit God. Maybe it was a supercomputer, or maybe it was another alien, but it's not God. There is no God. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because he's saying, oh, well, humans could have been created by intelligent designer, but the intelligent designer must have been evolved or created by a different intelligent designer. And then that intelligent designer would have been evolved.
The infinite regress.
Or created by another intelligent designer. And that intelligent designer must have been evolved.
Which the theological defense of that in apologetics is that if we're talking about this physical world, universe, or, you know, the known physical world, then you can posit a transcendent being, that being God, that created it, and then the infinite regress is no longer applicable because, you know, God comes, he transcends this physical world.
Right.
So, you know, and then you can argue, well, who created that other world? And then it's like, well, then at that point we're philosophizing outside of the realm of what we can experience and know.
Well, and that was another thing that bothered me. Again, going back to early teen Basil, who you know, was in conversations with people who constantly were trying to make these sorts of points. I had the mother of a friend ask me, so where does God come from? Just trying to like say like, oh,
try to
God
do a
must
gotcha.
have come. Yeah, trying to do a gotcha. I'm like, oh, he's always been around. Well, so somebody must have created God. Like, why? Why? Like, what is that giant leap in logic you're going to? And then it just sort of stopped.
Yeah, it is kind of at a certain point,
because they don't think, they just have this thing where it's simple answers like, fossil record. Okay. Well, what about, nope, fossil record. Okay. Well, then, you know, intelligent design seems to be a thing. Well, then where did that intelligent designer come from? I mean, I don't know. You tell me if you like, how far have you thought about this? And the answer is not very far at all.
No. And I think there is an official argument, but I don't know if it's ever been presented in the form of like an actual equation of an argument. But to me, it's like all you got to do is look at information, like the concept, the philosophical idea of information. Where did information come from? And information has existed prior to human minds. And so if there was information to exist prior to human minds, then it would make sense to suggest that there is a higher mind that transcends the physical world to inscribe information into our physical world and so on. So anyway, yeah, I like getting into those debates too sometimes because you can kind of expose their biases. But, you know,
I mean, it all comes down to those biases. Anyways,
yeah, it's the biases, worldview type of stuff. But it's always good to kind of rehash some of that, especially if you get lost in the conspiracy circles there. It's good to revisit some of those conversations and why the faith is true and stuff like that. There's a foundation.
Well, Guns, speaking of the beast system.
Oh, yes. Look for the jingle.
Speaking of the beast system. Beast system.
Neurosciencenews.com. Implanted wireless device triggers mice to form instant bond.
Wait a second. Implanted wireless device. Are they talking about a microchip?
For the first time ever, Northwestern engineers and neurobiologists have wirelessly programmed and then deprogrammed Mice to socially interact. Oh gosh, what is that? Loud motorcycle. Sorry about that. Mice to socially interact with one another in real time. The advancement is thanks to a first of its kind, ultra miniature wireless battery-free and fully implantable device that uses light to activate neurons. This study is the first optogenetics, a method for controlling neurons with light, paper exploring social interactions within groups of animals, which was previously impossible with current technologies. The research will be published on May 10th in the journal Nature Neuroscience. The thin, flexible, wireless nature of the implant allows the mice to look normal and behave normally in realistic environments, enabling researchers to observe them under natural conditions. Previous research using optogenetics required fiber optic wires, which restrained mouse movements and caused them to become entangled during social interactions or in complex environments. Oh, that sounds horrible. Quote, with previous technologies, we were unable to observe multiple animals socially interacting in complex environments because they were tethered, said Northwestern neurobiologist Yevgenia.
Tethered? Like they were on leashes?
The wires sticking out of their brains was just too much. This guy, Yevgenia Kozorovitsky, who designed the experiment, quote, the fibers would break or the animals would become entangled. In order to ask more complex questions about animal behavior in realistic environments, we needed this innovative wireless technology. It's tremendous to get away from the tethers. Quote, this paper represents the first time we've been able to achieve wireless battery-free implants for optogenetics with full independent digital control over multiple devices simultaneously in a given environment, said Northwestern bioelectronics pioneer John A. Rogers, who led the technology development. Quote, brain activity in an isolated animal is interesting, but going beyond research on individuals to studies of complex, socially interacting groups is one of the most important and exciting frontiers of neuroscience. We now have the technology to investigate how bonds form and break between individuals in these groups, and to examine how social hierarchies arise from these interactions. In other words, hive minds. I added that there. They didn't say that, but that's kind of what this is. Kozorovitsky is the Soretta and Henry Shapiro Research Professor of Molecular Biology and Associate Professor of Neurobiology in Northwestern's Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. She also is a member of the Chemistry of Life Processes Institute. Roger is the Lewis Simpson and Kimberly Query Professor of Materials Science and Engineering, Biomedical, just all the credentials there. Kozorovitsky and Rogers led the work with Yongyang Huang and Jan and Marcia Achenbach, Professor in Mechanical Engineering at McCormick, and Zhao Qianzhe, a professor of engineering mechanics at Dalian University of Technology in China. The paper's co-first authors are Yiyuan Yang, Ms. Zheng Wu, and Abraham Vasquez Guardado, all at Northwestern. Promises and problems of optogenetics. Because the human brain is a system of nearly 100 billion intertwined neurons, it's extremely difficult to probe single or even groups of neurons. Introduced in animal models around 2005, optogenetics offers control of specific genetically targeted neurons in order to probe them in unprecedented detail to study their connectivity or neurotransmitter release. Researchers first modified neurons in living mice to express a modified gene from light-sensitive algae. Then they can use external light to specifically control and monitor brain activity. Because of the genetic engineering involved, the method is not yet approved in humans. Quote, it sounds like sci-fi, but it's an incredibly useful technique, Kozorovitsky said. Quote, optogenetics could someday soon be used to fix blindness or reverse paralysis.
Of
They
course.
always want to fix people, is the reason for doing this.
That's how you get the funding.
I know. Previous optogenetic studies, however, were limited by the available technology to deliver light. Although researchers could easily probe one animal in isolation, it was challenging to simultaneously control neuron neural activity and flexible patterns within groups of animals interacting socially. Fiber optic wires typically emerged from an animal's head, connecting to an external light source. Then a software program could be used to turn the light on and off while monitoring the animal's behavior. Quote, as they move around, the fibers tugged in different ways, Rogers said. As expected, these effects changed the animal's patterns of motion. One therefore has to wonder, what behavior are you actually studying? Are you studying natural behaviors or behaviors associated with the physical constraint? And it goes on, there's a picture of this microchip here. It fits on the tip of a finger.
Wait, but Melinda Gates says that technology doesn't even exist.
Yeah, but Melinda Gates is just saying things to...
Is she ignorant of the current state of scientific debate?
Probably. Once you get past 1 billion, you can stop paying attention to that stuff, you know? You just really don't mind it. At the very bottom here, it says... the Kozovrzitsky, quote, to our knowledge, this is the first direct evaluation of a major long-standing hypothesis about neurosynchrony in social behavior. Funding the study, quote, real-time control and wireless multilateral optogenetics for broad neuroscience applications, was supported by the National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, and several foundations. Look at that. NIH.
The NIH is involved.
NIH researching microchips in brains to control your social behavior.
Oh, good. Fauci.
Science is truth.
Rand Paul should ask Fauci about that next time they get in the ring.
Do you not want to control human brains with microchips? We did not fund the Wuhan lab. All right. Well, there you go.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much for that, Gonzo, and we'll keep an eye out for the beast system. And thank you to all of you listeners, viewers, and especially producers for making this episode of Canary Cry News Talk happen. We will be back on Friday. That is May 14th, Friday, May 14th. So make sure to put it on your calendar, turn on notifications, and while you're at it, go ahead and like and subscribe, etc., etc.
Like, subscribe,
That's right. And we'll be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Friday. Is Friday going to be a little bit of a later show? I think it may have to for me, Guns.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So Friday will be coming on a little bit later in the day, in the afternoon, somewhere around 1 or 2 Pacific time. Not Pacific Standard, which I've learned is a different thing from Pacific's time. But I'll save that conspiracy theory for next show.
Yeah.
But thank you to all of our producers of this episode, number 336, and that's producers GJSM, producers Tristan, James, Sir Casey, the Shield Knight. Sorry, I'll get it right one of these days. Producers Sergey, Debbie, Tracy, Andrea, Steven, Killsport, Marty, and Ceiling Fan Man. And of course, thanks to all of our time stampers and our artists for today's show. You guys really made the show happen. We appreciate it so much. We can take a breath of fresh air, get off our heels a little bit. We appreciate that very much. And we'll need more producers for episode 337. So if you want to see the show continue, if you appreciate or get any value out of what we do here, please consider becoming a producer. You can do that by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT, or even better, head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. Make sure to thank a producer or thank God for the producers today, because they are the reason that the show can go on. Like I like to say, we will always know when the show is done because the producers will let us know. So if you want to keep the show going, please become a producer of the show. But there's lots of ways to produce the show, not just financially. We understand things are a little uncertain. So, if you want to come in with your time or your talent, create music, we got the Canary Cry mixtape coming up at the end of the show, create jingles, or create visual art, you can send all of that to canarycryradio@gmail.com if you like it easy, or canarycryradio@protonmail.com if you like to keep it secret. Go ahead, reach out, let us know. Other than that, please go ahead and leave ratings and reviews. It's super helpful to the show. It convinces those iTunes algorithms, those podcasting robots, to share the show with people who haven't heard it before. This is also not just rhetoric. We have producers of the show who found the show because of those algorithms, just suggesting it to them. So you never know, your review might be the one to push the algorithm over the edge and share the show with somebody who will appreciate it very, very much. And you can do that by going to Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast player you use. An easy way is just search Apple Podcasts, Canary Cry News Talk. Subscribe to it there. Always very important to be subscribed to the podcast version of the show, but also leave a rating and a review. Very helpful. I will be reading those out loud on the show on Friday. So if you have something you've always want to hear me say, go ahead, leave it in a review. As one reviewer said, it's the cheapest version of Cameo. But other than that, you got friends, you got family. They're starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. Go ahead and share the show with them. Just text it right to them, send them a link, put it on your social media. All that kind of stuff is very important to help get the word out. And again, you never know who's going to see it and join up. And they'll be very thankful to you. And so will we. We like to call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Go ahead and do it. Gons, any last words?
Just a quick thank you to anybody who watched on Odyssey today.
Oh,
we did have, I think 5 people watching, and there's a chat roll there. And I think there's ways to support with library credits and stuff. There's a lot of changes, folks. So thank you for all the people who headed over there.
Find your alternative to YouTube. You must do it now, because if you don't, someday you'll never see the show again.
Yeah.
And you can do that. Go to linktr.ee. I don't know why they do that. It's linktr.ee/Canary Cry News Talk. You can find all the links to all the places that we stream and upload our videos, and just join them all. Just subscribe to all of them. You're gonna thank yourself. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. Remember, we'll be back on Friday, the 14th of May. We will see you there. And thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until you do, think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
smoky pot. That's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
Magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered.
Who were made by the aliens? Who were made by the aliens?
Aliens?
Who were made by the aliens?
Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt.
Fluoride,
oxytocin. Get a chemical hug.
Everybody loves waffles. I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
Aborted feces. Jesus. Come on, man. Keep yapping, man. Aborted feces.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact.
Boy, it's really a productive segment, man.
Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Come on, man.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on in my people's zoo.
And melt those babies into candles.
They are scum.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
government safe and my people zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths!